gorgeous night here in St. Louis, downtown to be exact, in Busch Stadium. It's the Cardinals and the Padres. The Cardinals at 64-52, first place in the Central. With San Diego in town, that means David Eckstein returns. He is the shortstop and second baseman of the Padres. Nearly 400 games with the Cardinals, which he had 297, and everyone remembers 2006. He was the World Series MVP. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. That's Al. I'm Dan, and certainly we're excited to see David Eckstein back in town. We saw him with Arizona, Al, a year ago, but always fun to see the World Series MVP from your hometown come back.
Well, not only that, but he's just an exceptional young man. Everybody admires his physical skills and just how much heart he plays out there with the passion, and I think he always wore the Cardinal uniform very proudly, and the fans responded as one of their favorites.
Yeah, just moments ago he was still signing autographs. He was doing that about 30 minutes ago. Now we shift gears and take a look at the upcoming schedule for the St. Louis Cardinals. The next 10 games, 7 of those will be against the Padres. So this is a chance to really make hay against a team under 500.
Well, the Padres, but you look at Washington, Houston, these are guys that are very capable. Only the Los Angeles Dodgers have a record over 500. So this is a time where the Cardinals got to play good baseball and hope they can get a bunch of wins and put some distance between themselves and the Cubs and other contenders in the Central Division.
I'm sure that you would agree, Al, that Adam Wainwright has to be in that conversation right now for the Cy Young Award.
No doubt about it. He's looking for to be the National League's first 14-game winner tonight. But he's going to be opposed by a young right-hander. He's only 21 years of age, has a big plus fastball.
Looking forward to this one. The San Diego Padres, first time we have seen them in 2009. When we come back, this is going to be a lot of fun. A look at some past Padres, including Silent George Hendrick. That's next. Back in St. Louis, David Eckstein, the World Series MVP from '06 and a fan favorite, no doubt. He is now with the Padres. How about some Padres that got away? Let's take a look at this list to who's who of baseball heroes. Negro, Hendricks, Smith, Kruk, the two Alomars, Gary Sheffield, over 500 home runs, the Crime Dog, then Derek Lee, Jason Bay now with Boston, Jake Peavy with the White Sox. Al, let's take a look at 5 really good players that got away, and Silent George helped the Cardinals back in 1982.
Well, it looked like an all-star team, and that's what George was. 2-time all-star, 2 Silver Slugger awards. Then you got John Kruk, 3-time all-star. He led the Phils to the World Series in '93. How about Sandy Alomar Jr., 6-time all-star, led Cleveland to the World Series in '98. And his younger brother, even better, 11-time all-star, 10 Gold Gloves, 2 World Series wins. And Crime Dog, Fred McGriff, 4-time all-star. He led the Atlanta Braves to the 1995 World Series. And of course, nobody will forget the Wizard. These are some of the early years. He won 1 Gold Glove with San Diego, but no one will forget him wearing the Cardinal uniform. That's the play that he felt was his greatest. That flip is his trademark, but everybody remembers 14 all-star games for the Cardinals, 12 Gold Gloves, 3 pennants, 1 World Championship, and of course the Wizard now in the Hall of Fame.
Ah yes, Ozzie Smith traded over from San Diego to St. Louis. We've got more coming up. Been doing this all week, taking a look at other divisions in baseball. When we come back, a look at the American League West. That's next. All week long, we've been taking a look at different divisions in baseball. Tonight, the American League West, and a team really that plays National League style baseball. Mike Scioscia and the LA Angels.
Well, it's hard to go against the Angels. They win at home and on the road. But what might give Texas some hope is the fact that the Angels are 4 games under 500 in the West. And that's where Texas has really excelled. They have the best record, 11 games over 500 in their division. But they play well at home and struggle on the road. I don't think Seattle or Oakland have enough firepower.
And how about Ichiro? Amazing, 31 hits again from 200. We're only in the middle part of August. Setting the table. Next, San Diego and St. Louis coming up. The first place Cardinals are firing on all cylinders as they play in Game 1 tonight against the San Diego Padres in this 3-game weekend series at Busch Stadium. Much of the team's success this year has been based on solid starting pitching. And one of the game's best goes this evening, and that's right-hander Adam Wainwright. He's among the league leaders in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. He's making a case to be in the conversation for this year's Cy Young Award. Manager Tony La Russa has seen his offense come alive as well. On any given night, it could be any given player in the lineup who can contribute. Albert Pujols has led the way this season, and he could be on his way to another MVP award. It's a chance to watch the game's best player and taking a start from one of the league's best right-handers, the Cardinals, the Padres. They'll play in Game 1 next on Fox Sports Midwest. All on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser Select, full flavor, 99 calories, the exception to the rule. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town, we shop the competitors so you don't have to. By Chevy, see your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. And by the state of Missouri Tobacco Quit Line, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. The sun peeking through the seats here at Busch Stadium as Adam Wainwright leads the charge out of that Cardinals dugout. And the Cardinals, for the first time this season, will take on the San Diego Padres. Tony Gwynn Jr. and a familiar friend, David Eckstein, Adrian Gonzalez, all in the first. Chase Headley, Kevin Kuzmanov, Will Venable, Henry Blanco, the former Brave, Everett Cabrera, and Matt Latos. The starter hitting 100 for the Padres. He is certainly one of the best in baseball. A Marshall Wireless starter, 13-7. Adam Wainwright.
Trying to become the National League's first 14-game winner. He was the National League's first 13-game winner. He did that so in his last outing. 22 consecutive outings. He has gone at least 6 innings, always giving his team a chance to win.
Boy, and that's so important, as Dave Duncan knows that his bullpen can be rest more times than not when Carpenter and Wainwright are on the mound. The defense, Holiday, Colby, Ryan Ludwig in the outfield, DeRosa, Ryan, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield, and the battery tonight, Wainwright and Yadier Molina. Auto Tire Cardinals defense. Another big crowd on this Friday night, as it's the All-Star banner giveaway. Great looking banner, and I know a lot of folks were commenting on just how fine that looked from the past and present Cardinals and the banner that was given out here this evening. But there's a lot of truth to that, isn't it, Al? I mean, you know, when you have two guys in your starting 5 in Wainwright and Carpenter, where they can give you not a night off, but they give you flexibility in that bullpen.
Well, the Cardinal starters have thrown the most innings by any staff in the National League, so that always leads to what you're talking about, a well-rested bullpen. Remember, you add Pinheiro to Carpenter and Wainwright, you have 3 of the top 13 ERA leaders in the National League.
This is Tony Gwynn Jr., and his dad is in the broadcast booth right now for the San Diego Padres. And I talked to Tony Gwynn Sr. for a couple of reasons. I said, nice job you did with the physically handicapped kids. He was here at the All-Star game. Here's Brendan Ryan to his left, and he'll make the play. He did a great job, Al. And they worked with the handicapped kids down the right field line, and he was front and center and so active with the kids, which is not an easy thing to do.
Well,
and he was very good with them.
A Hall of Famer, also San Diego State. And listen to the applause for David Eckstein.
Let's hear this. Is this a great baseball town or what?
You don't think David's taking note, but how about every one of those young Padres sitting over there go, what is this all about? Well, it's fans showing their appreciation for a guy that played the game the right way, and what a gentleman on and off the field, just like you're talking about with Tony Gwynn.
And you think about Wainwright closing out the 06 World Series, Molina behind the plate, and this guy, Eckstein, the MVP back in 2006.
Of course, he was a shortstop then, now playing second base, and he's only committed 1 error on the season.
And a base hit into right for David Eckstein. So I said to Tony Gwynn Sr., I said, how can you be critical of your kid? That was the other reason I wanted to go talk to him. I said, you know, that's got to be tough. Your son's down there on the field. I said, you just must light into him. He said, oh, no, never have, never will. But that's the kind of guy Tony Gwynn is.
I think because he fears his mother.
You're probably right. Mama knows best, right?
Right. That was his hitting coach, so what the heck.
So what a base hit for Eckstein. Here's Adrian Gonzalez, and this season for Gonzalez has kind of flown under the radar screen with 30 home runs, 70 RBIs. He's really had a great year.
First Padre to have 3 consecutive 30 home run seasons. And he comes into tonight's action really on fire. Earlier this week he had 6 hits in a game.
They wrapped up a series yesterday in Milwaukee. They lost that game, 12-9 loss. Their starter allowed 3 home runs. Those were the first 3 hits he surrendered. They were down 9-0 at the end of the third, and then tried to make a game of it, but they lost 12-9. Crazy game. Day baseball yesterday in Milwaukee.
Gonzalez Tuesday night had his record-tying 6-hit performance. Or Tuesday night, 2-hit game on Wednesday, 3-hit game yesterday. Last 5 games hitting .565.
Hitting the count here, 3 balls, no strikes. Could be 2. Skip, Brendan, Albert. 4-6-3. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. With a loss yesterday, off day for the Cardinals. Chicago is now 4.5 games out in the Central Division. Milwaukee 7, Houston 7.5. A look at Tony's lineup. Skip Schumacher, Colby Rasmus, and Albert Pujols. Matt Holliday, Ryan Ludwig, and Mark DeRosa. Yadier Molina, Brendan Ryan, and Adam Wainwright. Matt Latos, 4-1, 2.43 ERA. We've got a couple of guys that should probably be playing basketball, pitching. He's a big dude. Marshall Wireless starter.
And he's only 21 years of age. He was invited to spring training, started the season in A ball, and then was promoted from Double-A. He has a very good fastball, and they say he's only 21, a little bit cocky. 3rd year in pro ball, all with the Padres. And by that first fastball, you can see a little bit that it's a high octane pitch. They say he has the ability to pitch up in the zone.
He's 6'6". That'll help. And here is Skip Schumacher. Schumacher shoots one down the left field line and out of play.
It's the first Padres to a pitcher in their history to win 4 of his first 5 starts, and he's won 4 in a row.
Of course, our games, Al, go across the country, so a lot of our fans that tune in at night don't read the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. There was a terrific article on Skip Schumacher done by Derek Gould in this morning's paper about the transition from outfield to infield, and sure enough, he started that 4-6-3 double play.
And quite remarkable is Tony commenting how, you know, they thought it would take about this time next season before he would be making all the routine plays and extremely comfortable at second base. Adam Wainwright tonight started talking when they were very close friends, how spring training, how much he worried about being a liability to the pitching staff. It's not the case.
Ground ball hit to second, taken there by David Eckstein, and he'll float one over to Adrian Gonzalez. The defense behind their 6'6" starter. Henley, Gwynn, and Venable in the outfield. Kuzminoff, Cabrera, Eckstein, Gonzalez along the infield. In the battery tonight, Latos and Blanco, Henry Blanco. He's been around a long time. Good to see David Eckstein back in St. Louis, and what a reception he just had about 5 minutes ago.
And he's playing very sound defensively, like we expect. He and Kuzminoff, the Padres' 3rd baseman, leading in fielding percentage at their positions.
Here's Colby Rasmus. It can't be easy for Eckstein to be in this spot right now because he is, and you talked about it, Al. I mean, he's not a big guy, and we always talked about he has the heart of a champion in many ways, and their team is 49-67. So it can't be easy for him right now to be on a team that is so sub 500. They're not going into the postseason play. And my point being is that if you talk about competitors in professional sports, no matter what size, this guy is right at the top. I don't think we can stress that enough with the fans.
Well, he's a definite overachiever, and you know the Cardinal fans know exactly what you're talking about. If you took that San Diego off the front of his jersey and you put one word on the front, it would be winner. And that's what you're talking about. It's hard. It's easy to come to the ballpark and be ready to play in the pennant race. But when you're struggling as a team, you know, you really have to push yourself and motivate yourself to come. But I don't think anybody will ever question, is he ready to play?
You played for the Cardinals. I have great respect for you and that fact, and anybody that's worn that jersey And you think about guys that have come to this city and the impression that they've made with the fan base. As Colby hits it down the right field line, but foul. In my mind, he was the perfect Cardinal. And I say that because they were part of winning teams, but yet, you know, our fans love Rex Hudler. They love Stubby Clapp, Bo Hart. And I'm not saying he's that player, but he played the game that way as a semi-superstar, if you will. Colby picks up a base hit to the opposite way. That's good to see.
Yeah, I think when I think about what you're talking about is he becomes a fan favorite because he always hustled.
Always.
Because he doesn't have the greatest physical skills, but he got the most out of his ability and some. And he always played the game the right way.
And I'll add this to it. When the game wasn't going on, he was always great with the fans.
Oh, no, I mean off the field, you know, here's a perfect gentleman that really got it. You know, it's an honor and a privilege to wear any major league uniform, but it comes with responsibility, you know, as a spokesman for the youth, and he welcomed that and took it to heart.
Where is Shaq? Here's Albert. Where's Shaq?
Well, I think Shaq's not used to losing.
And we don't know the outcome. We have no inside info unless you do.
I do know the outcome, so I guess I
don't spill the beans.
I didn't sign a waiver, but I will not spill the beans.
Were you there?
No,
but
Albert told me.
I saw you talking to Albert Pujols before the game. Do you want to give us a little insight into that conversation? Without spilling the beans?
How do you not spill the beans?
Al, don't spill the beans. We'll move on.
All right. I also talked to Ludwig, and
his hitting coach, Shax.
Are you just a bad hitting coach, or did you not have enough time to work with him? He says it's pretty hard to work with somebody that hasn't hit since Little League.
John Mabry also was helping out too. 2 balls and no strikes on Albert Pujols.
Ludwig did share with me that it was a long, long day. He said he was there from 4 to 11 o'clock.
Is that right?
Yeah, television, it takes a lot of time, the retakes.
I don't think you and I have.
The do-overs.
Have we ever had a retake?
Never heard that. No.
That's foreign to me.
A mulligan.
By the way, Big Dog just rolled his eyes to our left. Tim Garcia just went to the back. And that's ball 4 to Albert Pujols. And here is Matt Holliday.
And Dan talking with Ted Simmons about Latos, and he sits there and he goes, if you were scouting him, you would definitely want him on your team. And he said this will be his biggest challenge because he's never gone through 3 right-handers like he will here tonight.
Sure. Let's take a look at our keys to the game presented by Toyota. And since July 20th, Major League Baseball ranks. You talk about making a good trade. John Mozeliak, way to go. First in average, first in on-base percentage, first in hits, first in total bases. That's getting a return on your trade.
Yes, it is. And remember, this is Friday night.
Oh, good point.
Good point.
I didn't even think about that. It's 4-hit Friday for Matt Holliday.
4-hit Friday. He's had 2 wearing the Cardinal uniform, and including his very first game as a Cardinal, 4 hits. Last Friday, 4 hits.
I spoke to Matt before the game, and I said, I'm hearing about your football background. He said, that was so long ago. That was 10 years ago. I said, if you had a football, and he was a quarterback, by the way. I said, if I gave you a football, how far could you throw it? He said, give me 10 days. I'll probably throw it 60 yards. That's a pretty good athlete for you. Holliday shoots one into right center field. And the catch made. Venable is over. Rasmus will tag up from second to third. First and third and 2 down.
Thing about Albert Pujols walking. That is one thing that's pretty surprising about this young right-hander. He throws a lot of strikes for throwing so hard at such a young age.
Brings in Ryan Ludwig, who's hitting .267, 18 home runs and 73 RBIs. 2 outs and runners at the corners. How would you define Ludwig's season? It's kind of been odd, hasn't it? With the injury, and at times he doesn't play, but yet you look at his numbers, 18 home runs and 73 driven in. You take that all day.
even when he was struggling, the power numbers and production were acceptable. And remember, he got off to a good start. Then he had a little tailspin at the end of April, had the hamstring problem, really struggled to the tune of 165 coming back, 200 in June. And then, you know, the player of the month in July in 340. But you look at now the 18 home runs, 73 RBIs, the 267 average will continue to climb. So I think that's what, when his batting average was down in the 240s and 30s, he still looked at the production numbers and could hold his head up.
0-2 pitch to Ludwig. Breaking ball taken outside and low. 1-2.
6'6", but he has sort of a short stride, so he can take advantage and, you know, pitch on a downward plane.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Runners at first and third. With 2 outs here in the Cardinals half of the first. No score. Check swing. He held up 2-2. We should remember that David Eckstein came back with Arizona, I believe, last year.
Yes.
And how about the reception he gets with a new team second time through? Remarkable.
Well, these fans do not forget their favorites.
Big gap into left center field. Ludwig in the air to right center. Gwynn is there and makes the catch. Cardinals strand 2. No score after 1. Everything you knew about fantasy football is about to change. Introducing the all-new Fox Fantasy Football with more customized features and new ways to play. Log on to foxsports.com on MSN and join the next generation of fantasy football players. Chase Headley, Kevin Kuzminoff, and Will Venable. No score underway here in the second inning, and the first pitch is strike from Adam Wainwright. Adrian Gonzalez bounced into a double play to end the top of the first, and that came on a 3-0 pitch. Get the feeling that he's got the green light anytime he wants to swing the bat. Went 4-6-3.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any problem with what he has done this season, that if he sees a pitch he thinks he can drive, he has the right to do so. Headley really swinging a hot bat, and an 8-game streak stopped on Wednesday, but
Skip makes the play.
in his last 9.
I'm ready to put you on the spot, Al. You ready?
I'm ready, partner.
Adam Wainwright, Chris Carpenter. To those two, if the season ended right now, they steal votes from each other for the Cy Young Award?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
And that's one thing that, you know, these guys can handle anything, but I'm sure they would rather have one get all the St. Louis votes than to split it and have the Cy Young denied for one of them.
Long throw for Ryan. Nice play.
So used to seeing Brendan Ryan make nice plays back on the outfield grass. Still got kind of a little tricky hop. Had to show. See, watch how he catches this ball up high and then really doesn't have his body behind the throw, but he had the ability to sling his throws and throw sidearm in that case, and he's very effectively doing that, and rarely does he throw one away. Made a quick transition.
Wainwright right now is 5th in strikeouts behind Tim Lincecum. Now he is 59 strikeouts behind him. Lincecum is the leader. He's the only one at over 200. He's at 205. And this is Will Venable. Here's a ground ball to Albert. We'll go through some of the numbers when we come back. 6 pitches for Wainwright. DeRosa, Molina, Ryan coming up. After the game, Cardinals Live is broadcasting from the Aqua Bar at Lumiere Place Casino. Watch player interviews and Tony La Russa plus Pat Paris and Rick Horton. I believe it's Jim tonight. Jim and Ricky will be there to break down the game. U.S. Cellular, Cardinals Live after the game right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
It is Jim hosting. You notice he had to have me on set today?
For one time in my lifetime, I missed the pregame show.
And you missed me.
And so
that's why I was
you
gone.
were on the show.
I was on the set.
You were on set. What'd you talk about?
Whenever the cat wanted to. Talk about this hot baseball team, and particularly the pitching staff.
DeRosa back to the pitcher. One pitch, one out.
And I enjoyed doing it.
Let's give me some of those numbers as Molina walks to the plate. Earned run average right now. Chris Carpenter is just behind Lincecum. Carpenter 2.27. Adam Wainwright is sixth best in the league, 2.73. Then you look at wins, and with a win tonight, Wainwright would be first in the National League with 14. Carpenter trails with 12. Then you look at strikeouts. Adam Wainwright with 146. As we mentioned before. And the complete games, well, you can throw Joel Pinheiro into that. He's got 3. So those two have been terrific this year for the Cardinals. One out, nobody on, and Molina takes a ball. Yadier is hitting .287 with 5 home runs and 38 driven in. Two balls and no strikes. Brendan Ryan is on deck. And Yadier pops one foul. 2 balls and 1 strike. A long season for the Padres as they made one of the biggest trades in baseball. Jake Peavy to the White Sox. I'm sure for their fan base that was frowned upon, as Jake has been an outstanding pitcher for him. And I'm sure in many ways the Khalil Green trade was probably frowned upon too, as Khalil gave them very good years. And going into this season, you're thinking, well, maybe last year was just an off year for Khalil.
Well, they're a bit under a financial crunch, so they've had to pare salary, and they're going with an awful lot of young kids now. Khalil's done. You know, he's been productive the last 3 times as a pinch hitter.
3-2 pitch. Molina hits it in the air, pops it up right side. First baseman Gonzalez in foul territory. He's got it for the second out. Well, if you're traveling and can't catch our TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Catch over 100 live out-of-market games per week. For complete details, visit STLCardinals.com. That's where baseball is always on. Here's the shortstop, Brendan Ryan, who's hitting .286, 1 home run, and he's driven in 18. Adam Wainwright is on deck. 2 outs and nobody on. No score here in the second inning. And Brendan already tonight, Al, has made a couple of really fine plays defensively.
Just a normal everyday occurrence now for Brendan, and it's nice to see other teams really take note of his play.
And for people that tuned in early for us tonight before the first pitch, 0-2, they saw some of the highlights of Ozzie Smith, and you talked about it. I'm not sure we showed it long enough as we had to get things going, but that play that Ozzie made in San Diego, going to his left, diving, and the ball hit a rock and came back and he barehanded it.
Barehanded, like he's diving for it to be in front of him, and it changed direction and almost reaches back and catches it over his shoulder. Body still out of control as he's diving for it. I believe it was Jeff Burles that hit the ball, and Ozzie feels that was maybe the greatest play ever made.
And a swing and a miss by Brendan Ryan. He strikes out. So we have played 2 here at Busch Stadium, and there's no score. Maybe we'll get a look at that Ozzie play when we come back. Big kiss on the lips from Nicholas. And Brad was ready for it. Big sloppy kiss, Al, from a loving dog.
What better?
There's Henry Blanco. Blanco Cabrera. Latos. Hit hard and a fair ball past third. Down into the corner it goes. And this will be a double for Henry Blanco. Holiday gets it back in. Leadoff double for the San Diego catcher. Ozzie Smith never gets sick of seeing some of the highlights from the Wizard, the Hall of Famer. We flash back. This is back in 1978. And that is what he considers his greatest play ever. And that's hard to believe that he considers that one his greatest with all the fantastic plays that he made. I always think about the catch, Kurt Ford coming in and Ozzie going out, and he dove over Ford with his back to the infield. For me, growing up here, he was my favorite player. How could you not like Ozzie?
Let's make Ozzie feel old. What were you, about 6 months old when he was playing?
No. Much older than that, Al.
Someone gonna make Ozzie old. I mean, it's a joke.
I'm not going to play along because at some point I got to shake hands again with Ozzie, and he's my favorite player.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I was talking about you, yes. Sorry, Al. I just had to throw that in.
No, let's put it this way. You weren't born.
0-2 the count on Everett Cabrera, the shortstop for the Padres. Henry Blanco, the runner at second base.
We've been working together only 10 years, and you weren't born.
Sorry, Al.
I know how old I am every morning.
I watch you walk the steps at particular stadiums, and I feel for you. I do. This game really took a toll on your body.
Yeah, and I can crawl up some of them.
Sometimes we just like to get you in the booth. We'll keep you there, and we'll take care of the rest. 0-2 the count here on Cabrera, and the pitcher on deck. Leadoff double to start the third by Henry Blanco. And a foul tip.
Tony Gwynn Sr. was one of my favorite players a few years back because he was one of the few guys that still around that I competed against.
But yeah, I was trying to think the other day. Who was the last guy that you competed against that was still playing?
Might have been Tony Gwynn.
And your last year, I want to say, was 1981?
82.
82.
My manager thought it was about 81 or 80.
First strikeout for Adam Wainwright. And I know in talking with you on and off the air, your favorite years were spent right here in St. Louis.
Oh, no doubt about it. I enjoyed my time in 2 years in Kansas City, but you know, playing here with the Cardinals, some of the great teammates that I had, by far my favorites.
And Al, I mean, you enjoy your time in Kansas City, and I think you have enjoyed your checks from the Braves.
Yes. Just wish they were a little bit larger.
Ted Turner signed you. 1-0 pitch. I mean, when you were playing, and we've got a lot of young fans out there, you were truly a guy that was much more than just a ball player. You had personality. You were a character of the game. And I mean that in all due respect.
And I take it that way.
I hope so. As Skip will make this play, he's making all the routine plays.
Yeah, the game was, you know, changed dramatically, and money has a lot to do with it. But I think in many ways today, management looks after the players much better. They, you know, of course, they have a financial investment in them, and so, you know, they're much more guarded. They're protective of the players. Where, you know, in my early years, you know, you just felt like if the guy got hurt, you just reached down and plucked up another guy. There was no surgeries. Waiting for Junior to get a bat.
I always loved talking to Red Shandies. I talked to him before the game at the cage, and in previous conversations we've talked about that in his day and age, well before you, Al, I mean, if a guy got hurt, you just didn't say anything. You tried to play through it no matter how severe the injury, because there was somebody there before expansion. There's Red, the Hall of Famer, and before you had the disabled list the way it works today, guys were there that were ready to play in the major leagues and take your job.
Well, absolutely. And you had guys in the minor leagues that were blocked by, Stan Musial. Think of all the guys, and you had, you maybe had 15, 17 minor league teams. You had AAA, AA, A ball, B, C, D ball, and everybody had multiple. At one time the Cardinals had 3 AAA teams. How many times do you think
it's unbelievable?
Red and Stan blocked pretty good ball players, and you only had what 8 teams in the National League.
I think the guy at first has probably blocked a few.
Yeah, he's
right now
he's changed a few positions for some minor league talent.
That makes me think of Brett Wallace. It's 1-2. If you talk to some of the scouts, they felt that Brett Wallace would be a major league hitter, but best served probably in the American League either as a DH or go back to his natural position of first base, not to play third.
But you're blocked here in St. Louis.
That's right.
Because of Albert Pujols. But remember too, a lot of times guys got their opportunity in the major leagues when somebody got hurt.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Gwynn gets a piece. How much pressure do you think Tony Gwynn Jr. feels with Tony Gwynn Sr. not only watching him, but here he is on the road doing his games and trying to impress his dad? Or do you think it's not even something that he thinks about?
I'm sure his dad would fatherly advice would say, don't try and impress me, son. Impress yourself.
Check swing, and you think about Ken Griffey Jr., and he actually played with his dad, Ken Griffey Sr. Those two went actually back-to-back home runs in a game
as teammates.
But this guy has got a Hall of Famer as a father.
And I think the first thing Junior has to understand, he doesn't have the physical skills that his father had. He's never going to be able to compete with him as an offensive player. So just be the best player you can be.
And here he is in the major leagues. Now, for me, this is maybe the best play I saw. Ozzie over Kurt Ford. Remarkable. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By the Casino Queen Hotel and Casino, home of the loosest slots. And by the new 3rd Pound Angus Burgers. They are here. Try one for yourself today, only at McDonald's. How about the weather we have had, Al, huh?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's low 90s, but you're expecting pushing 100 at this time of year, and then it cools off nice in the late evening. Perfect weather for St. Louis.
Adam Wainwright leads it off, hitting a .156, 1 home run and 3 RBIs. Wainwright, Schumacher, and Rasmus for the Cardinals. Adam drills it out to deep left field. His 2nd home run of the season. How about that? The pitcher goes deep. Adam Wainwright to make it 1-0 Cardinals.
2nd home run this season for Adam, his 5th of his career. And Latos has given up now 7 home runs in his brief major league career. So it's a difference of getting that fastball up in the hitter's zone versus up above the strike zone, which is a pitcher's pitch. See, this one is up, but it's above the belt, and that gets belted.
Well, that was a long home run.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing cheap about that one.
No, not at all.
So his 2nd home run, his 4th RBI, and the Cardinals have a 1-0 lead. Wainwright is such a good athlete.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. You do not have to be an athlete to be a pitcher. It's the only position you don't have to be an athlete. It helps if you are. And let's see, a fan with a nice catch, like one-handed.
How about that play?
Very nice. But all a pitcher has to do is one thing: have the ability to throw, be able to pitch, throw pitches. But if you can field your position, if you can do the little things, sacrifice, you can hit on occasion. And Adam pinch hits 5 times this year. And he's such a good athlete then you've got a complete package.
Exmo Cam brought to you by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill. So the home run by Wainwright to make it 1-0. Three and 2 the count here on Skip Schumacher. Grounded out to second his first time up. Schumacher shoots one the opposite way. That's well hit. And over the head of the left fielder, Chase Headley. Looked like he drifted back just a little bit. Didn't take a real urgent route to it. And Schumacher hits it over his head for a double following the home run by Adam Wainwright.
Well, the lefties have gone to the opposite field, and I think what you're saying. Then I think Headley kind of reaches up, maybe trying to deke, but you know, if you keep that glove down and run hard another step or two, you might be able to reach up then and catch it. But I think you're right. I think maybe it surprised him that it carried so far, and he just kind of really didn't get a real good jump or go back aggressively on that ball towards the warning track. And it sneaks over his head for the double.
Colby Rasmus 1 for 1 as he singled to left field. That was good to see. The opposite field base hit for Colby.
Well, that's the point I'm thinking. You know, Colby first time hit his ball to left field. Then you see Schumacher do the same thing.
You know, going back to the home run by Wainwright as Colby places it perfectly. The third baseman collides with the pitcher. So Kuzmanov, Latos, they collide with each other, and it's a base hit for Rasmus, who is 2 for 2.
In my mind, the pitcher's got to get out of the way.
Because really, the only play is for Kuzmanov to barehand it and let it rip.
That's right. I mean, and Kuzmanov has the best fielding percentage by any third baseman in the National League. He's the only one that has a chance on that play. Just get out of the way and let him do his thing.
The Cardinals got something going now. Second time through this lineup. Runners at first and third, and nobody out. Here comes Albert. Pujols walked his first time up. Wainwright's home run measured at 389 feet. And I was about to say, Al, you know that in the scouting reports, they tell him, this pitcher right now, a young guy, don't just groove it to Adam Wainwright. He can swing the bat.
Oh, no, most definitely. But you know, he thinks he can throw his fastball by Adam.
Exactly.
You know, by Adam, and he thinks he can do it through Pujols. And you have to have that attitude. And you think that you're better than any hitter up there.
I agree with you, Al, to an extent.
I said you have to think that way.
With sense. You got to have a little sense to it, too.
With sense. And then, after Pujols hits
what you're saying.
After Pujols hits his 3 home run to help celebrate Bill Frost's 65th birthday, then you sit there and say, well, I might be a little smarter the next time.
Right. 2 balls and no strikes, and Matt Holliday on deck. Had a nice conversation with Matt Holliday before the game. And believe me, he is loving it in St. Louis. Pujols has not seen a strike yet. That's 6 balls to him. 4 straight first time up, 2-0 here.
And Latos is being very careful in how he pitches to it.
Ground ball hit to short, double play ball. But the Cardinals score a run as Schumacher makes it 2-0. Well, for every Cardinals win during this homestand, you can take $6 off Lowe's box seats for the Astros series August 25th, 26th, and 27th. Things are looking pretty promising here as the discount is already $12, and if the Cardinals sweep the Padres, tickets will be just $4. So stay tuned and save. The Cardinals have 2 wins so far. The question is now, how high will the discount go? For more information, visit STLCardinals.com.
Isn't that amazing?
That's great.
Cardinals sweep, and those seats would be $4.
$4.
$34 seat for $4, and that's for all 3 games of that Houston series, right?
That's right. Holliday in the air, deep right center. That'll stay in the ballpark, and Gwynn is there. Adam Wainwright homers to get things going. It's 2-0 after 3. This is our Radio Shack about this? What do you know? Prior to 1920, it was legal in the majors for a runner on second base to steal first. So give a runner on third a chance to score on a confused catcher's throw. That would confuse me. That's our Radio Shack What Do You Know? Now, you will see some teams with design plays, and a lot of times, Al, as David Eckstein is hitting for the second time, they will work on a play where a runner's at first and a runner at third, and will intentionally try to get in a rundown.
Yeah.
That is actually worked on both defensively and offensively in spring training, but yet I don't see it ever. It might be a waste of time.
You know what?
Little chopper hit to Brendan Ryan. Good play again.
One of the plays that I think would work today that you never see even worked on is the bases loaded pick off at second base.
And why do you say that?
Because a guy out there, thinks that there's a runner. Traditionally, you always think, in front and back, and traditionally you always think about, either worrying about the guy at third or worrying at first, where the guy at second base kind of gets that false sense of security and strays off.
First pitch at the knees on the inside corner to Adrian Gonzalez. He bounced into a 4-6-3 double play on a 3-0 pitch first time up.
And then I'm sure there's a lot. How about Brendan? Now he's waiting for that bases loaded pickoff play for the pitcher to throw it away.
Except there's nobody
on base.
And we don't have to worry about it. The Cardinals, and we really saw it. I remember first time really seeing it with the shift with Ken Griffey Jr. when he came over from the American League to the National League. And Tony and Dave Duncan had a number of charts on him. Their time in Oakland, well, it looked to be strike three. Doesn't get the call. But they put the shift on. And we don't see it normally with right-handers, but we do see it with the lefties.
Yeah, they were, especially when Griffey was here, but it seemed like there was a time where every left-hander had the shift.
Well, Tony's not afraid to try something different. Pitcher batting eighth, putting a shift on.
There's such a big wealth of information between this pitcher and hitter. 3 at-bats.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But they're watching tapes. They've got the video essentially broken down from probably his last 2 to 3 weeks and what he's done. And then they approach it hopefully that they say, okay, our guy is going to pitch this way, and if it gets hit, he's going to pull it, or he's going to go to the opposite field, whatever the case may be.
You mentioned earlier it looked like the fastball was a strike. That last pitch was the cutter. Looked like it was a strike, but not so by Dale Scott, the crew chief.
A 2-2. Foul ball. I remember talking with Chris Duncan about Adrian Gonzalez, and he played winter ball with him. And he said, we hear about all these great power hitters. And Chris was talking about 2 years ago. So I'm going to give you a name that a lot of guys don't look at, but has tremendous power, in particular to the opposite field. Adrian Gonzalez, and he's done it. He's put it all together this year with the 30 home runs.
I mentioned he's the first Padres with 3 30 home run seasons. He's done it 3 years in a row. And because of that big spacious ballpark, it's no surprising to me 20 of his 30 home runs this year have come on the road.
Right. Imagine if he played somewhere else.
Right. Where
those totals would be. 3-2 with 1 out.
By Yankee Stadium.
Right. You bring up a good point. If you're Brian Cashman, and for the most part you've got more money than anybody in baseball, you have to take a look now because of that ballpark at left-handed hitters and say, here you go, we'll write a check for you. And with that ballpark, you're going to have a chance to put up remarkable numbers. Agreed?
1, we're going to pay you more than anybody else, and 2, we're going to give you a ballpark to earn that money.
That's right.
Right down the middle.
Strikeout of Gonzalez.
He cannot argue. If he's arguing that strike, he better get his eyes examined.
That's second of the night, and he had 2 other pitches I thought were strikes.
Yeah, but look at this one. There is no argument about that pitch. Right down the middle.
So 2 outs. And here is Chase Headley. Now on the other side, I'm talking about a hitter's ballpark, and Walt Jocketty is going through this with Cincinnati, trying to convince a pitcher to come to your ballpark, and what you have to do is either draft good pitchers, sinker ballers, or you're going to have to overpay.
Well, I think CC Sabathia decided to go there and made it pretty easy for him.
But he did at the time. He didn't know. You know, he didn't know that that was going to be a hitter's park, and then he did get $100+ million, and that solidified the deal.
Right.
Into center field, and that drops in for a base hit. Headley is 1 for 2. Spend the night under the lights at Busch Stadium when the Cardinals campout returns Friday, September 25th. It's courtesy of Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Boats. For tickets, call area code 314-345-9000 or visit stocardinals.com/campout. Always a very popular night.
Headley, who just got that base hit ahead of Kuzmanov, is now 10 for his last 11, but I guess that's kind of the example. They said he was hitting soft, a soft 350.
And that pitch is a strike to Kuzmanov, who's hitting .264 overall. He grounded out to short first time up. 14 home runs, 65 driven in.
Remember, was it last year or 2 years ago? Kuzmanov was kind of off to a horrible start, but they stuck with him and starting to really pay dividends.
The Cardinals and John Mozeliak have a busy weekend, as signings for the draft have to be done by 11 o'clock St. Louis time on Monday night.
And their #1 draft pick is still unsigned. Shelby Miller.
Yeah, Shelby Miller.
High school kid, but sound like he wants to sign, but just be overpaid.
It might be, though. I've talked to a number of scouts that have said if you're going to overpay, this might be
one of the worst.
Yeah, he's one that you might want to do it with.
Had the best fastball in the draft, and high school pitcher.
Right, and there's no sure thing. But when you talk about with the current club as it's constructed, trying to re-sign Holiday and trying to re-sign Albert Pujols when his time is up, or DeRosa, or some of the other young guys, you've got to think about the future. And do you try to lock up a young pitcher? Granted, you overpay, but it factors into the equation of what you do 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Well, and what you have to do with your your scouting money and your major league money have to be separate. And you can't look and say, well, because we need now to have money to re-sign these major league guys, we got to dip into that. You can't do that. They're separate funds.
That's it out of play.
And I know you're always good at spending other people's money. You constantly let me remind you of that.
I think I went back to all of our tapes the other day. I've spent $275 million alone on payroll.
And that was last year. On last year's payroll, right?
That's right. This year it's off the charts.
It's over that.
I'm really good at it. So I'm saying sign Shelby Miller, sign Matt Holiday, give me Pujols locked up for 10 more years, and I'll be happy.
And we want DeRosa too.
And I'm just like every other fan. Right.
There's one difference. They pay their money to come in here.
Right. We got a pretty good gig going right now. 2-2 is pulled foul.
Yeah, you walk in the ballpark free, and then you spend their money.
I don't see any problem with it.
Fan spends his money.
Is there a problem with that?
Says, I'm entitled to my opinion.
53 pitches and 21 in this inning alone for Adam Wainwright. After he homered for the Cardinals in the bottom of the third. 2-0 St. Louis. 2-2 the count with 2 outs and a runner at first.
That's why you have to have those 6-pitch innings like you did in the second.
There's a line drive into right. That'll be caught. Ludwig is there. And he'll lead it off when we come back. Cardinals on top, 2-0. Saturday afternoons made for baseball. This week, Fox brings you the National Game of the Week. Ryan Howard and the National League East leading Phillies head to Atlanta. Big series. They'll take on Chipper Jones and the Braves. Fox Saturday Baseball. And that'll be tomorrow at 3 Central, only on Fox. Our ball game moves to the bottom of the fourth, and the Cardinals have themselves a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, the Cubbies had a little fun this afternoon, didn't they?
You tell me.
Well, they had a 14-0 lead in the second inning.
That's fun, but 17 is even better.
Yeah, 17-2 was the final.
So the Cubs start play tonight With the Cardinals in action, 4 games out now with that half game that they picked up, but it could be 4.5 before the night is through. You know, we talked about the American League West Division, and this is Ryan Ludwig. How remarkable has it been? And I think this has kind of flown under the radar, the career of Ichiro here in the United States, as Ludwig bounces it up towards the middle, and he is out at first. He is 31 hits shy again of 200. I mean, that guy has just been a remarkable player for the Seattle Mariners.
And you remember, before he started his major league career in the United States, we played an exhibition game up there. Lou Piniella was the manager, and he was telling us that.
And you and I were sitting at the cage looking at Ichiro saying, what's the deal
And
here?
he said that, hey, if this kid wants to hit home runs, he can hit home runs. And he kind of was, he was telling us the truth, but I think he wasn't even sure he believed it, where he had a miserable spring training. And he kind of sat there and said, you know, he says he's setting up the pitchers.
That's unbelievable. As DeRosa grounds out to short, he's 0 for 2 tonight.
And what he was doing was he was just like, you know, just like he was swinging the bat. You know, they used to say an old phrase, he hits like he's swinging the Sporting News. But he was just, you know, just dribbling balls here, and they kind of
literally
wondered
was
whether,
Taguchi when he first got
right,
it.
Exactly. But I mean, he kind of sat there and said, you know, hey, for the money we gave you, can't you drive the ball? You go, oh, I can do all that. I'm just setting everybody up. And lo and behold, he was is right.
There's a base hit past David Eckstein into center field, and Molina is 1 for 2.
But he also told me, and I did see, you know, a home run hitting contest that spring out there, and you see David diving for a ball, no surprise there. Where it was surprising to me, it was between the Padres and the Mariners, and they share the same complex in Arizona, and they had a home run hitting contest, and Ichiro was in it. You know, and you're kind of like, well, what's this all about? And they said in batting practice he could hit him as far as anybody, but it was just, and then history is Ichiro can do anything he wants with that bat.
And the other thing, how about his defense, which gets overlooked too? He has an absolute cannon for an arm in right field. And if they needed him, they've said he could play center field and probably be Gold Glove out there.
Sure. I don't think there's any doubt he can play wherever he wants.
And we talked about the Angels and Mike Scioscia. What a job he has done. He's won a World Series, and over there in the American League West, they're 68-44, dealing with the tragedy that they had early on of their young pitcher that passed away in a tragic accident. And Texas is 4.5 games out, but it looks like the Angels once again will head to postseason play one way or another.
Texas wins at home, but they have a losing record on the road. They do have the best record in the division. Look at this.
Molina, great jump and a stolen base, standing up. How many times you ever say that? Molina with a steal, standing up. No play, no throw.
I think it's his 7th steal and 8 attempts, but look at that. Just, you know the infielders are yelling, step off, step off, step off. And if they do so, they've got him dead to right. But he picks the pocket of Latos, and he picks up his 7th steal. 7 out of 8.
Can't argue with that.
No, but the one thing where the Angels do have, they have struggled a little bit in their division, but they win home and road.
And that does mean a lot, as the Cubs, you look at what they've done. And they play very well at Wrigley Field, but on the road, they really struggle.
Right. And think about that steal from Molina. Because of Brendan Ryan, who's a good leadoff hitter, if the pitcher steps off and he throws out Molina, you go, okay, we're up 2-0. There are 2 outs. You have Brendan Ryan to lead off the next inning. But Brendan's not a guy that's going to drive the ball out of the ballpark. So by putting him in scoring position, you might be able to steal a run.
Here's a 1-2, and Brendan shoots one foul. And look at this lineup tonight. I mean, this is as good as baseball has got right now in the middle, with Pujols, Holiday, and Ludwig. DeRosa's in a funk right now, but Molina obviously has been a good hitter. He's right around 290. Brendan Ryan right around 290, and he's your 8th place hitter. And when you talk about Wainwright, certainly he adds a dimension to this team too.
Well, you know the respect I have for Ted Simmons, and I talked to him about tonight's starter for the Padres, and he said, well, this will be his first real true test going through the middle of this lineup.
Time is called late,
very
but granted.
late. As a hitter, you can ask for time to be called, and there you see Simba,
who should be in the Hall of Fame. You and I talked about it, I remember a couple years ago in Milwaukee, and we went through the numbers of Ted Simmons as compared to those catchers recently inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. It is not even close.
Wow.
And yet you don't hear his name.
Gary Carter is a friend, and I compete against Fisk. And, you know, if Gary Carter's in the Hall of Fame, Ted Simmons has to be in the Hall of Fame. And, you know, maybe Teddy wasn't quite the defensive catcher as some of the other guys, but you talk about a pure hitter. There was no better pure hitter in the 70s than Ted Simmons. And any pitcher that had to compete against him will pay him high praise.
What disappoints me, though, is that you don't hear his name. It's not even in the conversation right now.
Well, part of the problem
That's ridiculous.
Is one of the biggest injustice of all-time voting.
Base hit into right. Here comes Yadier Molina. Venable to throw. No, he won't even throw. Yadi will score 3-0 on a 2-out RBI single by Brendan Ryan.
How important or how big was the stolen base now?
Right.
And then the failure of execution by Venable with any kind of throw home, even in the vicinity. He still has the ability to throw out Molina, but coming in charging, good piece of hitting to the opposite field. And then watch the right fielder comes in here, bobbles there. He still might have had a chance, but you know, at crunch time, you've got to execute. You've got to come up with that ball cleanly. You've got to throw and have it, you know, a one hop or throw it all the way. He's shallow enough in right field. He should be able to reach it. But no error or anything, but with a bobble, it costs the Padres a run.
Here's Wainwright, who was homered tonight. 2 outs and a runner at first. And a little chopper hit to short. We'll talk about Ted Simmons in the Hall of Fame a little bit more when we come back. Cardinals add to the lead. It's 3-0. It's time to bring you up to speed with the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. That gets you caught up, and the Cardinals have a 3-0 lead here in the top of the 5th at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. We'll see the San Diego Padres next week on our road trip to the West Coast. We'll start with 3 in Los Angeles and then 4 with the San Diego Padres. The big ballpark, Petco Park. I was talking with some of the broadcasters about the fan base, and they said, you know, certainly like any fan, they didn't want to see JPV go, but a crowd still coming out and supporting the team, and you know, pleasantly surprised.
Well, a lot of times, you know, they'll come out and they'll want to see some of these young players, see if there is a future for the Padres.
Will Venable hits it in the air to center. Out is Ryan, in is Rasmus for the out. First man retired, and it brings in Henry Blanco. You talk about such a long season, and you look at the numbers and you look at stats. You also think about certain situations, and then you think about Brendan Ryan when he was going out on a lot of those kind of fly balls. He's always aggressive, and remember, Al, he was going out to the point where a near collision with Chris Duncan, or in that particular play you might have seen a collision with Rasmus, but he's gotten a lot better about going out and having a feel for it of when to peel off or to keep going.
Well, I think part of it maybe is now that they're all communicating better, knowing that Brendan is going to go out and show extreme range, or that outfielder, maybe assuming it's his fly ball the way, now knows that he has to call off Brendan Ryan and do it early enough to where he can peel off and stay out of their way.
He just said that's nasty, and I agree. That last breaking ball was pretty tough there from Wainwright. Adam, and I was curious how he would respond after his last start. you might remember he went 6 2/3, but against, and you made a great point, Al, against a very young Pittsburgh lineup. He was throwing a ton of breaking balls. And you pitched in this game a long time. I mean, that puts a lot of stress on your arm, and you're always curious how a guy will respond.
Just because the team is a young fastball team, and remember, Blanco's a veteran on this team, but predominantly there's a bunch of young guys here. It's because they got to the big leagues hitting fastballs. Doesn't mean you can't throw fastballs to them. You just got to spot them. And here's another breaking ball that kind of a late break as it started to back up and then breaks down.
Good luck if you've got to face Carpenter Wainwright 1 and 2. I made the point the other night, and I still marvel at the trades the Cardinals have made to make them better offensively. That's slicing and fair off the bat of Cabrera. He's on his way to second base. Holiday will dig it out. But to me, the bottom line is the health of Chris Carpenter, health of Wainwright, Franklin, but in particular Chris Carpenter. He has to stay healthy.
Everybody deals with injuries, but you're right. If you can avoid your core players coming up injured, and Carpenter did have that stint on the disabled list that has to have cost him 3 or 4 more wins. Where would you be if Molina went down for a long period of time? I guess the greatest testament is, when you look at, because you've had good health, relatively good health for 9 consecutive years with Pujols, that, Tony will be the first one to tell you, when Carpenter is healthy, this team goes to postseason. The 3 years that he was unable to contribute, the team did not go to postseason.
And you mentioned with Pujols' relative health, we don't know as fans and as broadcasters just how much he is banged up and the pain that he has played through the last few years, because the elbow has been a situation. Remember, he had the calf injury. There's a ground ball backhanded by Schumacher. Nice play. Fires to first and gets his man. Nice play by Skip Schumacher. That saves a run from scoring. Good backhanded play. 3-0 midway through 5. This stayed in baseball history. Back in 1971, Bob Gibson no-hits the Pirates 11-0 with the help of outstanding defensive plays by Jose Cruz and Joe Torre. Our Schnooks this date in baseball history. Gibson jersey right there.
I mentioned it's Bill Frost's 65th birthday earlier. Martha Barbie, she's celebrating her 80th birthday yesterday. And we want to thank Martha for being part of Cardinal Nation in Memphis, Tennessee.
Don't forget about the Aflac High School baseball ball game coming up from Petco on Fox Sports Midwest. Craig Biggio will be a part of that. The Aflac All-American High School Baseball Classic this Sunday. Rachel Crispin celebrating her 11th birthday today. Was part of the gymnastics performance on the field before the game. And Rachel is the daughter of MLB.com's employee John Crispin. What do you think goes through the mind of Bill Finley when he sees all those bodies out there on the outfield? I mean, the grass out there, that's his baby.
I think he kind of...
Does he cringe?
I think it was kind of like Tony avoiding going out on the field when Shaq was here before during batting practice. Like, I do not want to watch this. I want to close my eyes and say that, everybody's not going to get hurt. Like Bill Finley saying the blades of grass, nobody's going to... At least it wasn't 110 degrees out there.
Poor Bill. I emceed a function for Major League Baseball during the All-Star game, and it was the day of the Home Run Derby. And it was some of the top corporate sponsors of Major League Baseball having a chance to come in and take batting practice. And poor Bill was right behind the batting cage, and with every misstep, I felt bad for him.
Going, there's another hours of work.
There's another couple hours. I got to replace that little piece of grass. But you talk to the players in all seriousness, and they rave about the playing surface here in St. Louis, both home and away. This is considered, especially with the infielders, obviously a very true surface, and they appreciate that. Obviously, their livelihood is on the line.
And a little bit easier that this, geographically, this is one of the toughest areas in the country to grow grass and have the wear and tear that you do during a baseball season, but a little easier than the old Busch Stadium, where because of the overhang at particularly out in right field, they always had a problem with the grass in the right field corner. A lot more air circulation here. And with a mild summer, we've been very, very fortunate.
I can't believe the summer. We're almost to September. There's been a couple of times that have been very hot down here, but you know, we went through stretches though of weeks of it seemed like 100 degrees when you come to the ballpark.
Years past, and I can remember,
even last year.
Yeah, I can remember in the 70s, you know, it was still the thermometer would be close to 100 degrees at midnight.
How did you guys deal with it? I mean, the heat and the turf. I mean, I know you probably didn't know any different, but
I didn't know any different. You know, it was reality. You know, you just
dealt with it.
Yeah, you just dealt with it. You didn't know anything. But you know, it is amazing to see some of the Cardinal players in today with the nutrition and how they take care of them, with you know the different supplements, and I'm talking about, you know, Gatorade type things or hydration. You know, how some of these guys are having the cramping problem and you know, all the problems they're having. You know, it's like, what happened?
2 balls and a strike, and Colby Rasmus is 2 for 2. Opposite field single and also a bunt base hit. I remember going down to the ballpark and watching Alan Watson when he was perfect when he first came up. Remember that, the start that he had? It was a day game, and I had great seats right down there on the field, probably about 10 rows deep.
Oh, it snuck in, huh?
Not that time. And that's for another story, Al. I'd rather not go into it. But it was so hot, and I was thinking at that time, you know, it's hot for the fans, but what's it like for these players, number one, and how do they hold up over the course of 6 months playing on the turf? There's another base hit for Rasmus into right center. On his way to third is Skip Schumacher.
Now Colby 3 for 3.
But it brings me to the point of watching a guy like Pujols, who consistently, by the end of the year, you're marking down a .330 average, 35 to 40 home runs, and he's driven in 100 plus, and he scored 100 runs. The consistency to do it over 6 months in a place that's very, very hot. I think that kind of gets overlooked.
That you wear down, you know, because of the heat. And remember, you know, at the old stadium, you know, one at the end, you didn't have the, when I first came to St. Louis, you had the skin infield, but then you had the sliding pits. So your first baseman or the other infielders were not standing on the dirt, they were standing on the turf.
Sure. Can't remember who I was talking to, but it was a pitcher, and they said we were the luckiest guys out there because we actually got to stand on dirt.
On the island.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody around you would have the rays come up above your waist, and I mean the heat wave where you could just look out there and you'd see the heat rising right off that turf, and you know, well documented, 140, 145 degrees on a Sunday afternoon.
0-1 fouled back. That's 97 on our gun. And you know, we talked about the gun the other night. Chris Carpenter talked about doing something a little bit different with how he was preparing and how he felt on the mound the other night. He was hitting 95, 96 late in that game. He was throwing extremely hard. So the gun may have been right.
It's my experience, the hitter will tell you how good your fastball is.
Sure.
Not the gun, the hitter.
Here's the 0-2 with nobody out to Albert. Trying to overthrow it. That one at 97.
You know, a lot of, and that's it's a good point, Dan. Trying to overthrow it, because young pitchers are enamored with that velocity. And as I said, the hitter will let you know how hard or how effective that fastball is. The only time I see a value in that is if the guy's throwing consistently mid-90s, and then all of a sudden, a little later in the game, he drops down to 90, 91, then you better know you better get your bullpen ready.
Here's a 1-2 to Albert Pujols. And you can throw 200 miles an hour. It doesn't matter if you don't locate and have movement at this level. Second time through especially, guys make the adjustment. They're just too good.
Well, that's the key, you know, because you can blow it out coming out of the bullpen, where in theory you should only be facing a guy one time a night. It's tough for him to make the adjustment. But when you talk about the second or third time through the order, that's where these guys get you.
2-2 the count on Albert Pujols. First time up, he walked, then he grounded into a double play, and what a test here for the youngster. 6'6" out there on the mound to face one of the game's best, if not the best, in Albert Pujols. Nobody out. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And a check on the runner at first. That's Colby Rasmus with his good speed. What a great test for the youngster out there. He's down 3-0, but in his mind, he's saying, I've got, for my generation of players, maybe the best I'll ever face right here.
And this
Let me see how good I am.
That's it, Dan. I mean, that's the competing factor that I think sometimes overlooked, to try to create a one-on-one battle with every single hitter. And here, he's only 21 years of age, but he's facing today's best hitter and a once-in-a-generation type hitter. And first time he walked him, so that's neutral. Second time he got him hit into a double play. Give the matchup to the kid. But can he do it throughout the game? And you know, there's been a lot of great Hall of Fame pitchers that in their career could get superstars out, but couldn't get the average guy out.
And here comes a 2-2. Pujols pops one foul into this big crowd here at Busch Stadium. All-Star banner night, but it doesn't matter since they have acquired Matt Holliday. And I talked to team president Bill DeWitt. Big time jump in ticket sales. Matt Holliday has made a huge impact with this team. I talked with him before the game as well. He just loves it here in St. Louis.
It's not only that, it's just, you know, it's just the fans see and like what, you know, the product,
yeah,
and just the atmosphere. It's come alive. Everyone feels good about this club, including the players, and they're most important.
2-2. Just missed. 3-2. Albert gets that call, doesn't he?
This kid's not afraid to challenge, and you're right. I mean, between a rookie and today's poster child for baseball, you know, all borderline pitches should go to the established star. And I think that was off the plate to begin with.
3-2. Nobody out. Runners at first and third. 3-0 for the first place Cardinals. They're in their half of the 5th. Outfield is deep. Pujols takes ball 4, so the base is loaded. And this is what you get into. Pick your poison now, because Matt Holliday's coming in. 6 is a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just $1 the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, when the Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. I mentioned how I talked to Matt Holliday before the game, and I said, are you sick of people asking you about what you're going to do? And he just laughed, and he said, no. He said, not at all. He said, I understand the fan base here. I understand they're interested in what I want to do. He said, but I can tell you this, I've loved my time here. He said that this has been a heck of an experience. He said, I remember coming through, and you see his numbers with the bases loaded, 4 grand slams. He said, I remember coming through midweek games with the Colorado Rockies, and this place was packed. And now to have the experience I've had, it's just been remarkable. And I said, well, what was it like that first at bat? I said, do you remember it? He said, how could I forget? He said, it was unbelievable. He said, one of the best experiences ever in his baseball career.
Infield in. Uh-oh.
And Holliday takes a ball up and in.
See a guy that hits the ball extremely hard, and you're playing the infield in. You're worried about the married men in the infield.
You know, we talk about how guys approach hitting too. Look at that. He is not moving hardly at all. The movement of the head, as simple as that sounds, you hear that from Little League up to this point in the big leagues. And when guys get in slumps, their swings are all over the place. Their front shoulders flying, meaning their head's flying out too. You watch Holiday, everything very quiet. Very, very quiet, just like Pujols. And then he has the violent swing. Like that.
If you move your head, and that's why one of the hardest places to hit a guy is in the head, because if he moves any part of his body, his head usually moves. But as a hitter, like you said, you cannot, if your head stays still, you got a much better chance of hitting.
3-1 on Matt Holliday. I did talk to him, by the way, about his leg kick, which I know you've talked about too. He said Mark McGwire tried to get him to basically get out of that leg kick, that high leg kick with the front leg. He said, you know what, I tried, it just wasn't who I am. It's comfortable for me. And I said, what about switching leagues? Was that a big difference? And he said, and this is a true professional, he said, you know what, it'd be easy for me to say that, yeah, switching leagues was a problem. He said, that's not the problem. He said, I flat out just didn't get it done.
Well, and talking with him also, you know, he really tried hard and he believed in what Mark was saying, but it just didn't work for him by trying to not have that high leg kick. And once he abandoned that and went back to his best way of hitting, and the way he explained it to me was, he's saying, I started lifting my front leg because I found myself going out in front, lunging. You know, my head's moving, my body's moving forward, doing all these things. So in order to counteract that, I started lifting my leg up high to keep my weight back. And he said, you know, I mean, what Mark was trying to preach worked great for him. He said, I believed it, I wanted to try it, but it just didn't work for me.
A 3-2 pitch to Matt Holliday with that quiet look that he's got up there, and that's a base hit. One run is in, here comes another. And the Cardinals lead it 5-0. Matt Holliday makes them pay. 19 RBIs for Holliday this season, and he comes through with the bases loaded.
19 is a Cardinal, 2 more for 73 is a total, and that'll be it for the youngster, as the middle of the order eventually did the number. You throw that pitch down, you know, up in the zone, he'd have better success. Down there, Holliday can handle it. There you see the leg kick, he gets it down, everything's quiet, and for a guy that hits the ball so hard, pulling the infield in, you almost knew that he was going to hit it hard enough to get by.
But Black has seen enough. Youngster is out of this game. The Cardinals have played it 5 so far. Nobody out in their half of the 5th. St. Louis rolling tonight. Our Bud Light, what's on tap? The difference is drinkability. Bud Light. Back at it again tomorrow, 5:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. Remember, if you have tickets, come on down early, as the game is at 6:15 tomorrow night. Tim Stauffer and Joel Pinheiro hook up tomorrow night. Pinheiro is 10-9 this season. It looked to be that the starter for San Diego had words with the home plate umpire, Dale Scott, when he left the field.
Well, he's been described as a cocky young man, but he's got some few lessons to learn at this big league level, because some of the gestures and some of the things he did as he was leaving the park, or leaving and going to the dugout, that'll get around for these umpires, and they'll make life a little bit tougher on him.
Or Chevy called to the bullpen. Edward Mujica, and first pitch to Ludwig is taken for a ball outside. You talk to the players, Al, and they sit there and they talk about the vibe in this ballpark and how they feel about each other. This is a tight-knit group, and the fans have obviously provided that, but they provided it with winning baseball. And when you win, it just seems like the little things go away. You know, you just don't really worry about it, and that's what the players have been talking about, as Bud Black is visiting with his young right-hander.
Trying to calm him down a little bit of instructing right now, teaching him the etiquette of the game. And a 25, 30-year veteran umpire like Dale Scott could have reacted a little bit more aggressively, and you give him a lot of credit for not overreacting to a rookie making about his 6th major league start.
The 2-1 pitch. Missed his spot completely on the inside corner. Wanted it outside. Fouled away. 2-2.
Mujica was acquired by the Padres from Cleveland in exchange for a player to be named or cash considerations. This is team high 53rd outing. You talk about close-knit bunch of guys, and that's Mark DeRosa, talked about how almost immediately they accepted him, took him under the wing, and of course I think has something to do with the acquisitions where the Cardinal players realize that these guys are pretty good players and are only going to help them win.
Base hit, left field. Albert coming home to the plate, cut off. And Pujols will tag home plate just to make sure. 6-0. Another run scored for Albert Pujols. Another RBI for Ludwig. Now with 74. 6-0 Cardinals.
And there's another bobble by the left fielder allowing Pujols to score. So Ludwig reaches out, gets the ball out there. Now watch the left fielder come in. And there you see the little, not a real clean exchange. And that allowed Albert to come there. And his heel touched the plate, but just to make sure, he'll go back and touch it with the ball of his foot.
Schumacher, Rasmus, Pujols, they all have scored, and that's a check swing. And DeRosa did not go. That's Ron Kulpa, the first base umpire tonight. He is a St. Louisan. Jerry Meals at second. And Mike DeMuro over at third. Ron Kulpa, I believe he worked the first ever game here at Busch Stadium 3.
Yeah, I give Major League Baseball a little credit, knowing that he's a St. Louisan and the only active St. Louis umpire, and so allowed him to work the first game of his hometown. So that was probably something he'll never forget.
No doubt.
Rich Rieker, who was a St. Louisan, was active a couple years ago, but because of physical problems is now an umpiring supervisor.
There was another umpire that was here for a number of years, based in St. Louis, and then moved, and I can't think of the name. Jerry Davis.
David Davis now moved to Wisconsin.
There's a high fly ball out to shallow center. Tony Gwynn Jr. makes the catch with 2 hands. Good news for the folks headed to Mobile. 6 a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, a frozen drink for just $0.25. The next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run.
See where Memphis has scored 6, and part of that is a home run by David Freese, the St. Louisan, who glad to see him back active after he had a little foot surgery.
I would assume we're going to see him in September.
You would hope. You'd like to think the Cardinals will still be in the pennant race. Don't want to take anything for granted, but it's kind of a fine line. How many guys to bring up? You don't want guys to be a distraction. You want them to be helpful. And you don't. Sometimes in a perfect world, you'd like to bring a lot of guys just to see the major league experience, but you don't want to bring them up here if they become a distraction to your pennant race.
And John Mozeliak has a busy job right now. We talked about Shelby Miller, Cardinals' #1 pick. They've got to get him signed before 11 o'clock on Monday. That's up the middle. That's a base hit. Molina drives in a run. 7-0 Cardinals. He's 2 for 3. Holiday scores, and Ludwig advances to third.
You know, they played him lean over in right field, right center a little bit. So very good base running by both runners. Ludwig going first to third. Holiday scores from second. That's the 39th RBI for Molina. And all 7 runs are charged to Latos. His ERA will take a pounding.
Machica now is allowed 2 base hits and has recorded just 1 out. Fastball misses on the outside corner. But the other thing that you're talking about, when you're in a situation like this, you're John Mozeliak. You've got a really good team going on right now. You've got a chance to go to postseason play. What can you get done before September to help your team? Ludwig in a rundown now, and they'll tag him out. And I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you're always looking to add, you know, strength. And usually when you think about that, Tony's gone on record asking for bullpen help, and you're telling a veteran presence to handle the pressures of the pennant race down the stretch. But you don't want to disrupt this very, very positive team chemistry. But you know what? These players understand, and they know that, you know, if the front office wants to bring in somebody, they usually are very thankful for the addition.
I think if you would ask, for instance, a guy like Wainwright, he would tell you, I've learned over the last 2 years that these shots are hard to come by, meaning postseason play, going to the playoffs, World Series. And as a young player, I can see where a guy would take it for granted because they don't know any better, but you don't know how many shots you're going to get. And the Cardinals have been just on a ridiculous run here for the last 10 years or so.
Well, and a lot of players have become spoiled too, you know, thinking that in their first year that, you know, hey, I can become a World Series champion. That's going to happen every year. And then you look at a guy like Ernie Banks, never was on a winner. Joe Torre, 4 World Championships as a manager, none as a player.
4 runs for the Cardinals and a 7-0 lead. Hunter Iflin is celebrating his 8th birthday, and Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by AT&T. Switch to the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. The Dodge Summer Clearance is here. Get to your Dodge dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. And by Taco Bell, your place to win tickets or a VIP ticket package to the Missouri-Illinois arch rivalry game. 7-0 Cardinals. Happy birthday to Hunter. And away we go here in the 6th inning. 10 hits for the Cardinals, only 4 for San Diego. Top of the lineup now for Wainwright to deal with, 3rd time through, and it's Tony Gwynn.
It's a bit premature, but it appears that Adam, with a 7-0 lead, will make it through the 6th inning, and that would be his 23rd consecutive start pitching at least 6 innings.
Boy, that says a lot, doesn't it?
It sure does. It's consistency.
I mean, even the game's best starters, every 5th day, every once in a while, they have a hiccup. Might last 1 or 2 innings, and they just don't have it that day. And for him to do this, I mean, that's really a telling stat, what you're talking about.
Now, he's been amongst the league leaders in given run support, but it doesn't explain.
The skip makes the play again.
Doesn't explain the fact that Adam here at home with a 2.18 ERA is 4-6.
And you see the longest active starts streak, allowing less than 3 earned runs. Wainwright at 9, Eric Bedard of Seattle at 10, Wandy Rodriguez of Houston in there, Rich Harden and Cliff Lee. The right stuff from Adam Wainwright. Here is David Eckstein, who is 1 for 2 tonight. Eckstein singled back in the 1st and grounded out 2 short in the 4th.
Yeah, this is the first start he's ever made against the Padres.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, his 3rd season in the starting rotation, but his first start ever against the Padres. And I think they're starting to realize he's a pretty effective starter.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Look at that. Good movement again by Wainwright.
In my mind, you know, Chris Carpenter is the ace. But I think guys like Adam Wainwright that have no ego are happy to hear that. And they have learned an awful lot just by having Carpenter.
He calls Carpenter his mentor.
Well, that's right. And that's where he should. And to me, that's where he has become better and better and better. You know, the Cardinals kind of have a rule that if you're on the disabled list, you don't travel with the ball club unless you're close to being activated. But I always thought Carpenter should have been the exception. And I'm sure his family didn't want to hear this, but, you know, but
they want him home.
They want him home. But, you know, I felt that he was just the perfect teammate and mentor to all the young pitchers that he should be on the road to help teach him.
That's a fair ball. A nice play by Mark DeRosa over at third base. That was not easy, was it?
Well, not only that, and as one more reminder, don't be an umpire. Don't try to, you know, say, well, hey,
play it out.
Is it fair or foul? Yeah, play it out. Assume that it's always fair, and then you're never going to embarrass you by putting the ball in your pocket saying, well, wait a minute, I thought it was a foul ball. So play it out. Good advice.
We were around the cage today, both you and I know Mark DeRosa is very frustrated with what's going on offensively. He's a little bit of a funk right now, but defensively, I don't think we've talked enough about it. The fact is, he's played tremendous defense over at third base.
Well, he has not committed an error since wearing the Cardinal uniform, and he has been such an upgrade. And that's it. I mean, he still has hit 8 home runs as a Cardinal. Played the great defense, and you know, and everybody knows the offense will come.
0-2. Dale Scott, our home plate umpire, he's had a few words from a couple of the Padres tonight. Their starter, and remember last time up, Adrian Gonzalez called out on strikes on a pitch that he did not like, and voiced his displeasure.
Oh, it was surprising to us was after a couple close pitches that went Gonzalez's way, then it appeared he took a pitch right down the middle and objected to being called out on a pitch that he had no right to.
Right.
You know, sometimes you see it one way and then you go up and these guys run up and look at video and go, yeah, you know what, I was wrong.
Yeah. Here's a 1-2. Isn't that something, though, from when you played, you just went off of, hey, that was a good pitch. I know it was a good pitch. But now these guys can say, I know that pitch was a good pitch. And then they go in and watch and they say, well, maybe not. You know, they can watch. And these guys do watch video all night long. And interestingly enough, that ball's hit the opposite way off the wall. You know who one of the first guys to do that was, and he's at the ballpark tonight.
Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn.
His wife would have a video camera, and she would video his at-bats, and then after the game, he would look at those. Set up away. You talked earlier about his power to the opposite field.
Yeah.
And it gives you an idea as he reaches out, gets that ball, hits it in the corner, and it bounces over for the ground rule double.
So 2 outs, a runner at second base. 7-0. The Cardinals lead it. And this is Chase Headley, who is 1 for 2. First pitch, a strike. I know I've told this to you before, Al, but, you know, covering teams, I'll never forget, in covering the Padres, going into the locker room late after, I mean, hour and a half after games, Tony Gwynn was probably the last guy there, and many times he was there with his brother. Remember, his brother was in the major leagues too.
And they were talking baseball.
Talking baseball.
And having a few of St. Louis' finest.
They'd have a beer or two and watch video, but talk about the game, and you'd approach him and you'd ask him about a situation, and he'd be more than happy to talk to you. Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall, by the way, when he and Stan get together? Because he does try to look up Stan when he comes through St. Louis.
Well, just recently I was over and saw Stan Musial, and I was over at the office, Stan the Man Inc. 314-965-3000. And Stan was kind enough to give me for a charity event an unbelievable poster signed by Tony and himself, the Sporting News shot of the two of them there. And what, they each had 7 National League batting titles, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a beautiful shot. And when I first came up, Dan, you know, after a game, the veteran guys, you know, we go and as a pretty good sized group, we gravitate to some watering hole, and you know, after guys kind of relax a little bit, you know, you'd be standing around, and Joe Torre would get a young hitter and say, that third at bat, what were you thinking? And I go, I don't know. And he goes, well, that was what it looked like. You know, here's the situation. Here's what I saw in your mental approach. And the guy would, yeah, that's it. Well, this is what you should have. But that's how you learn the baseball, how you learn the game. And many times you learn a lot more from your failures than you do from your successes.
No doubt. 3-2 lifted in the air out to shallow left. Holiday is there. Cardinals rolling tonight. Bottom of the 6 rolls in, and St. Louis leads it by the score of 7-0. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, and Fox Sports Midwest have joined together to encourage young people not to smoke, because once you start, it's hard to stop. Strike out tobacco so we can all breathe easier. Number to call, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. First pitch, chopper hit to second, and Schumacher retired.
Hey, good luck to Post 253 from Festus, representing Missouri at the American Legion World Series taking place in Fargo, North Dakota. They're coached by Pat Bone and are one of only 8 teams playing in this American Legion World Series, so we wish them good luck.
You play American Legion? You played Legion baseball,
yes,
right?
I did.
I did too.
Yeah. And thank all those gentlemen for their service and what they do for our youth. But that's quite an accomplishment by the Festus team.
My guess is you were probably a little better player than I was, Al, but that's just a guess. I mean, you made it to the major leagues, Al, so.
Remember, I didn't start pitching until I was a senior in high school.
Do you think that helped in all seriousness in your longevity?
Yes, it did.
Colby bounces it to first. He's had a good night tonight. Quickly 2 outs. Display your favorite Cardinals memories in this one-of-a-kind picture frame with the attached Fredbird bobblehead. It'll be this Sunday. It's available to 25,000 fans on Sunday, August 16th. This Sunday. So to purchase tickets, call 345-9000 or visit STOCardinals.com. It's also a family Sunday. Terrace or pavilion reserved seat, and you get a free hot dog and soda. So come on down. Could be a great day. And also you have the ice cream sundae coming up as well.
Pair of walks tonight, and Albert grounded into a double play, but last time up, he walked and come around to score, and in the 4-run 5th inning that knocked out the starter.
So you're wear and tear. Senior in high school, you start pitching.
You're not only wear and tear, but I mean, my love was football. I had it down to
I can't imagine that.
I had it down to a science, Dan, to how to hit a runner the split second he relaxed after the whistle.
The only problem was I don't want to say your height officially, but you weren't one of the biggest guys, so then you had to go to baseball.
Well, you know, but remember, in my mind, I thought it was 6'8".
Of course. That's good. You thought you were Shaq out there.
No, but I mean, seriously, the football mentality and physically.
That's why you've always liked Mike Hampton.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
football mentality. But what I'm saying is, physically, I built up my upper body, you know, as a football player. Not lifting weights, doing push-ups.
In the air to shallow right. Pujols will be retired, and we have played 6 on this Friday night at Busch Stadium. 7-0 St. Louis. Welcome back to Cardinals baseball here on Fox Sports Midwest. It's 7-0 St. Louis. Adam Wainwright got things going. A little bit of everything here tonight. He's pitching well. He hit a home run. Brendan Ryan with a base hit with 2 outs. Matt Holliday with the bases loaded. That kind of night for St. Louis. 7-0 our Infinity game recap. Backhanded by DeRosa. Long throw. Picked by Pujols. Oh, what a play.
Pretty good at both ends, but when you get well-pitched games, you also have that timely defense on top of it. The guy throws strikes. Kuzmanov hits a breaking ball right over the bag, but DeRosa equal to the task. And look at the soft hands by Albert Pujols at the other end. Once again, played the play. You know, go through the play. Ball bounced well enough in front of him. Instead of reaching out and stretching for that, he laid back, but got a true hop.
Ian and Jack Lynch are with us tonight and enjoying Cardinals baseball. Those two brothers really are big fans of Al. Ian and Jack Lynch. And that's a strike.
I could tell because on their forehead it said trouble.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Big time. Nothing in 2 the count.
Wait till I get through him. I'll teach him a few more tricks.
You're always trying to come over to my house and babysit, and after Luke, I said, absolutely
not.
No chance. And then I had 3 more, and I said, Al, whenever you want, I'll take my chances. Will Venable is the hitter.
Well, and Luke is so old now, so you have 4 at, what, 4 and 1 month? Luke's.
Yes. He's
4 and 1 month
just
old.
over 4, and Avery is 2 and twins.
Yeah.
We're not busy or anything, Al, so come on over. We'd love to have you. I'll grab the car keys and leave you alone. 2-2 pitch. Venable with a base hit into left center. I do mean this in all sincerity. My second oldest, Avery, when I tell her I'm going to work, and I've told you this,
yes,
she can't handle Mr. Al. Are you going to work with Mr. Al? Yeah, I'm working with Mr. Al. How's Mr. Al doing? What's going on? I mean, you're her favorite, Al. That kind of hurts me a little bit. So in saying that, why don't you come on over? I'll give you all the time to babysit you. Matter of fact, sleepover. I'll give you a sleepover. And you can wake up early in the morning, too. Be a great thing for you. You and Avery can bond.
All right, I'll bring Westland, too.
Oh, bring him on.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
there's more the merrier.
He's 18 months, youngest grandson, so he'll fit right in, right?
Oh, more than you know. Here's Henry Blanco, who has doubled tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Told you about Sutcliffe.
Oh,
when he was with Cleveland and started broadcasting with Sports Time and invited me over on an off day in between, you know, broadcasting and off day. He came over and Robin, his wife, sit there and said, you know, I'm walking in the door and she said, bye, Al, see you in a few hours. She was going to go play in a softball game, and I did not know it, but Rick invited me over for the barbecue just because he refused to change diapers, and I got to. That was my assignment.
That was your duty.
I had to earn that for my dinner.
Now he was a character of the game, wasn't
he? He was good.
He was one of them.
Just ask Tommy Lasorda in his desk.
2-2 pitch. And a base hit into right. So back-to-back singles now for the Padres. Tommy Lasorda and Rick Sutcliffe, huh? All-star closer Ryan Franklin and reliever Kyle McClellan signing autographs at the Cardinals official team stores this Saturday, August 15th from 10:30 until noon. Ryan Franklin will be at the team store in Union Station in downtown St. Louis. Kyle will be at the team store at the St. Louis Mills Mall in Hazelwood. So take advantage of that. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was if in his rookie season that he was taken off the playoff roster and he got so upset he went in and literally
Rick Sutcliffe.
picked up Tommy's desk and slammed it down and broke it in the office. And so Rick's a big man.
Oh, he is most definitely a big man.
And a very nice person when he's happy.
I could say the same about you.
Just remind me, I better go take a happy pill.
2 balls and no strikes, and Rodriguez is on deck. Could see a pinch hitter here. 100 pitches tonight for Adam Wainwright.
It's like Gonzalez's brother. Or is it? I don't think his brother's active.
So bases loaded here.
3 consecutive hits. That's Cabrera, and the lead runner with 1 out. Venable was going back, worrying about the line drive being caught. So Luis Rodriguez is going to pinch hit. And Tony will get his bullpen active.
Out to visit Dave Duncan.
Trevor Miller will get up very quickly.
How good has he been, Al?
Where would he be without Miller and his ability to retire left-handed batters? They're batting .099 against him. Now, Rodriguez is a switch hitter. And then you got Tony Gwynn Jr. So really, it's not for the switch hitter here, Rodriguez. Getting ready for Tony Gwynn Jr.
Rodriguez, .215 hitter this season, 70 games with San Diego, couple home runs and 14 RBIs. Base is loaded for the Padres, trying to get back in this game. The Cardinals lead it 7-0. Things all of a sudden get a little interesting here.
This is where Adam kind of reaches back into his book of knowledge and starts thinking like a late inning reliever.
How about a double play? Ryan, Schumacher, Albert, double play. The second double play the Cardinals have turned tonight. 6-4-3. Time to stretch here at Busch. 7-0. Mercedes-Benz E-Class Attention Assist of the game. The truck, what do they come up with? I know that Mark DeRosa's had a couple of fine plays. Yep, Mark DeRosa, last inning. And the pick by Albert Pujols. No surprise there, as the Cardinals defense has been good tonight. The pitching outstanding from Wainwright. And just when you think that he might be in trouble, Al, he gets that double play and gets out of it.
Well, that's it. You know, you always know that you go back, and that's what I was going to say. Okay, he's gone past his 6 innings for the 23rd consecutive start. You get late into a ball game, you revert back to that wealth of knowledge and that experience as a late inning reliever and get that double play ball. Speaking of relievers, Gregerson, Luke Gregerson, he's 0-3, ERA at 3.24. Right-handed batters are batting only 136 against him, but lefties 317.
So Gregerson into the ball game, and he gets Matt Holliday.
He was acquired to complete the deal that sent Khalil Green to the Cardinals.
Yep. And remember, Mark Worrell,
and then he had
hurt.
Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, he was hurt. You know, we haven't talked a lot about Jaime Garcia. He has a chance to come back this year. He's pitching right now in the minor leagues. The Cardinals were very high on the lefty and felt that if he got some starts under his belt at the major league level and settled in and got rid of the nerves, he would be okay. Jaime Garcia could very well fit into the plans in September, and certainly when you talk about 2010.
Yeah, and you're hopeful that he can make a quick enough recovery, get his arm strength back to where he can at least vie for the starting rotation, a lefty in that starting rotation next season.
We mentioned this before as well, that John Mozeliak, you got to be busy this weekend when you're looking at some of the potential deals that might be out there. And if you add a player, he would be eligible for postseason play by the end of the month. But once you get into September, all bets are off. He's off that roster.
Yeah, and there's a technicality that you can kind of swing and bear, but it's replacing a guy that's injured. But in reality, if you have to be on the 25-man roster on August 31st to be eligible for your postseason roster, but it's not to say that you can't bring somebody up in September that can help push you to the postseason, and then he's ineligible.
How good of a job has John done this year? I mean, when you look at the available bats that were out there, he got DeRosa, he got Matt Holliday,
and Lugo.
Lugo has turned out to be outstanding. and the fact that you're not paying him.
And also you have him under contract for next year.
Oh, boy.
There's a perfect example.
And he's hustling all the way. That's Holiday in at second base. And that very well could be ruled a double.
Well, it'll be a double, but it's really, and don't get upset with the shortstop. That's the fault of the left fielder. Headley, that's his ball all the way. Now, he pops it up there. He's upset, but he puts his head down. He still watches. He watches, and now he sees it fall and ends up getting to second base. But watch this. Where's the left fielder? Come on, left fielder. That's a tough play, obviously, for the shortstop. Look, he's turning circles out there. And your left fielder, it's an easy play for him, standing flat-footed, gave up on the ball. That's a double, but it's a mental mistake by the left fielder.
Here's Ryan Ludwig now, 1 for 3, RBI single in the 5th. Ludwig now with 74 RBIs.
75 would sound a lot better, wouldn't it?
It sure would. I don't know about you, Al, but there's certain guys you really pull for. He's one of them. I mean, for the dues he's paid, the surgeries he's had, the fact that he was ready to go to Japan to try to get a contract, provide for his family. I mean, this is one of the guys you sit there and go, all right, this is year 2 now of him putting up really good numbers. I mean, I just pull for him. I want to see him do well.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know, he probably will never duplicate the season he had last year.
I don't know about that. I mean, what if he played every day and didn't get hurt?
Well, but that's part of it. I mean, it was such a remarkable season. 37 home runs, tied Albert. 100+ RBIs. You know, hit
I'm greedy,
like
Al.
299. I know
greedy.
you spend people's money.
I know.
You just give them RBIs and home runs like nothing. But the fact is, I thought it was very unfair. But realistically, there were certain people that questioned, said, "Oh, he'll never duplicate that year." In my mind, if he never duplicates it, it still doesn't diminish the fact that he's going to be and should be an everyday player that's going to, you know, be a threat right in the middle of a championship caliber team's the heart of the order.
In the hole here, 1-2. Outside, 2-2. Adam Wainwright, you got to figure his night is probably through. 100+ pitches, and he got the double play to get out of the jam, and he's hit a home run.
And another reason, you look at the Cardinal bullpen, and there's Miller standing on the mound.
That would probably solidify it for me. 2-2. And a swing and a miss. I also take a look at how certain guys are with the fans, and Ludwig, DeRosa, Holiday, Albert. I mean, they have gotten a good core of players here. Good people, good players, good with the fans.
I look at that, and you know, not all broadcasters may be sensitive to those things, but I have no problem with the money guys make under 2 conditions. You try and earn it, and we all know how hard it is to play at this elite level. But the other thing I insist on is be fan friendly.
Fans pay your salary.
If you do those things, then, you know, I'm going to be supportive of what you give us in return.
I know DeRosa, and I mentioned this earlier, that he's frustrated with his performance at the plate. And he would be a guy that, because he's a true professional, he would never blame anything on the struggles. So it leaves it to us to sit there and question, you know, how bad is the wrist? Because this is a guy, even though with 21 home runs, we haven't seen DeRosa at his best, I don't think.
Well,
would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, he's hit the 8 home runs since he's worn the Cardinal uniform, but he's hit about 200.
Yeah, the home runs you love.
Yeah,
but you expect a little better average.
And he'd be the first one to tell you that that's the right way of thinking, because he expects it to be.
Sure.
You know, he was hitting 270 when he got here. He hit 285 last season. He had 21 home runs a year ago, 87 RBIs. He can duplicate the RBIs and surpass the home run total.
3-2.
And you're absolutely right. He has never used the wrist as an excuse. Probably will need off-season surgery.
Be very easy to do that too. You know, he's probably pressing a little bit too, just trying to impress a new city and a franchise. As DeRosa hits it out to left center field. That'll get down. Gwynn cuts it off before it goes to the wall. Holiday will score, and that makes it 8-0 Cardinals on the RBI by Mark DeRosa. Boy, did he need that.
64th RBI and 1 for 4 on the night, but it's more indicative of the type of hitter he is. Little slider, goes out there, reaches down and gets it, hits it out in the gap, and Gwynn does a nice job to cut this ball off before it gets to the wall. Deep on the warning track, difference in a triple, but more importantly, he drives in Holiday.
Big happy birthday to Jim Oakloss. Huge fan of the Cardinals, never misses a game here on Fox Sports Midwest. Jim Oakloss, happy birthday to you. Here's a ground ball hit to short. Playing on the outfield grass, and the play is made. Advancing though, DeRosa, because the shortstop was so deep in the hole.
A little surprising is you could question whether DeRosa should have gone to third, but when the shortstop didn't go the easy way, have the play in front of him, he gets over there, and now there are 2 outs.
Brendan Ryan will be the hitter with 2 outs. He had a 2-out base hit earlier in this game. That was back in the 4th inning. Brendan is 1 for 3. RBI single in the 4th. A little slider there by Dickerson, and that's a strike. DeRosa, the runner at third base, and here comes an 0-1 pitch with 2 down. Same pitch. Rick Ankiel is on deck.
On deck. So, I mean, we'll see if Miller comes in. Obviously, if they pinch hit for Wainwright, we understand that Miller's coming in, but say Waino's pitches at about 100.
I think he's just over it. That's the same pitch again. So he saw 3 of those little sliders. Wainwright at 103. Eckstein puts it away. His return to St. Louis, a rough one tonight. All Cardinals.
All St. Louis, thanks to the pitching of Adam Wainwright. And our Hardy's prime cut of the day is also Adam Wainwright, as he picks up his 2nd home run of the season and gives the Cardinals a 1-0 lead. So Adam right now has the game-winning hit, plus his 7 innings of work, 8 hits allowed, no runs. He, for the 3rd consecutive time, he has not walked a batter, strikes out 3, and for 23 consecutive starts, Adam Wainwright has gone at least 6 innings, 7 here tonight. Brings in Trevor Miller, who appearing for the 48th time. Look at that. Look at those numbers. 3-0. ERA just hovering over 2. He doesn't walk very many. Opponents are batting under 200, and lefties are under 100. Tony Gwynn Jr. will be the first man to face him. The left-hander is 0 for 3. Those are all against Wainwright. Nobody warming up. They're Eckstein on deck, and then you have Gonzalez. So 2 of the first 3 batters are left-handed. Tony Gwynn was traded this year from Milwaukee back to his hometown, back to a town where his dad's a legend. Miller fouls behind 3-0 as he hit by the pitch. So a rare time he does not retire a left-handed batter. See if this ball grazes him. He's not very big, so I mean it had to hit the blouse of his shirt. And brings on David Eckstein, real fan favorite here. David 1 for 3 on the night. Davis singled his first time up, was erased in part of a double play, one of 2 that Wainwright required.
Did you feel at the time, Al, that he would, I don't know, finish up his career is the right way to say it here in St. Louis, but at least be extended and get a contract that was agreeable to him and the club? He, like I said before, he seemed to be the perfect fit here in town.
I think you're right as he flies out to Holiday and no advancement. But I think there was a little miscommunication between David and his agent. You remember he was offered a nice 3-year contract in spring training. They elected to suspend his negotiation until after the season. Things dramatically changed, and then I think because that offer wasn't accepted, it really wasn't conveyed the proper way between his agent and the ball club.
And again, we're not privy to what he was, looking at, but
when he ended up signing the 1-year deal with,
you wonder.
It made you almost wonder. It's like, hey, why wasn't the Cardinals given that offer? Because I think for the money that he went for the 1-year contract to Toronto, they would have been more than happy to re-sign him that.
Sure. 1 ball, 1 strike. In there in that dugout, you saw a shot of Brian Giles. Yes, Brian Giles still with San Diego.
Is he on the disabled list?
He's been hurt.
Yeah. He's a San Diego native. There he is. Brother out of baseball now.
Marcus. He's been out for a couple of years. Had a few years with the Braves in which he was one of the better second basemen in baseball. And of course, Brian hits from the left side and throws left, and he is an outfielder. We'll tap her back to Miller. Out at second. The third double play turned by the Cardinals tonight. How quick is Brendan Ryan? The transition on that double play. Eight to nothing. The Cardinals have the lead as we move to the bottom of the 8th. All St. Louis here tonight. Let's go pitch by pitch in our feature brought to you by Chevrolet. Good matchup here for Trevor Miller when you think about getting into postseason playing those lefty-lefty matchups. Well, here's one of the best in baseball. A couple of fastballs from Trevor Miller, and it eventually turns into a double play. 1-6-3, and they have controlled Gonzalez tonight. The Cardinals have induced 112 double plays, which is best in baseball, and tonight they have 3. And again, our pitch-by-pitch feature is presented by Chevrolet. Again, Al, very good test to see a guy like Trevor Miller facing Gonzalez, and more times than not, I mean many more times, Trevor Miller comes away as the guy that wins.
Well, interesting to me in that is how many fastballs he threw.
Yes.
So normally you always look at him throwing that slider, that wicked slider.
New pitcher is Joe Thatcher, a left-hander, and he'll face the former Padre, Khalil Green, who was shaking hands and giving out hugs before the game with some of his former teammates and the personnel over with the Padres. I'm sure he would like to get a base hit here against his former team, but he's behind 0-2.
Thatcher's 3rd stint with the Padres, and like you said, Khalil, team that drafted him, you always feel like you want to show that they made a mistake.
Jason Mott is getting loose in the Cardinal bullpen, and we've talked about it before, and they're the numbers on Thatcher. Tony La Russa has talked about eventually maybe getting some type of bullpen help, in particular from the right side, but Jason Mott is a guy you'd love to see him get straightened out, because right now he's just not quite where he needs to be and where we've seen him before.
Yes, and that's a kind way to put it. As Jason Mott, if they can get him straightened out, and a game like this is a great opportunity for him to work on what he needs to work on, well, that's almost like acquiring another player, because he has not been himself, which is part of the learning experience. And here's your base hit.
Good for Khalil Green. Base hit into center field. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Our crowd tonight, 42,208. 42,208. The 24th sold-out crowd this season. 24 sellouts this year.
You know, Dan, the Cardinals have given away some great promotion items, including tonight, an all-star kind of banner. But the best promotion is winning baseball. When you get these big crowds and the way they've seen the Cardinals play winning baseball, that's why you can understand why they keep on wanting to come back.
Here's a 1-0 to Lugo, a little bit low. I think the fans appreciate the fact the Cardinals have said, look, all chips in, we're going for it. We're going to get Matt Holliday, Mark DeRosa, Julio Lugo. They may make another addition, but you know, these fans are knowledgeable. They know what's going on, and when they see that, and it's about an extra 7 or 8 million added to the payroll before this season is through, you know, fans just say, hey, we appreciate that. Let's go watch this team.
Well, and to be honest with you, the fans allowed ownership to make those kind of deals, to give the permission to John Mozeliak to execute because of the way the fans have come through the turnstile.
It's a broken bat and a foul ball, and he broke his bat. Also, I think he hit it off his shin. A little bit of everything in that swing from Julio Lugo. 2-2 the count. But it really does send a message, doesn't it? I mean, when you say, look, we appreciate you as a fan base and what you've done. Now, for us, the onus is on us to win games, get into postseason play, and we're going to try by putting that money that you've spent back into the payroll.
Yeah, and I think in some ways, last season the ball club felt a little betrayed when the front office didn't go out and make some deals to help them out.
Out at second, they get the lead runner. Cardinals baseball tonight on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Lime. The drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. And by Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. Here's the thing, though. If you go back to last year, if you tweak the club and you're truthful with yourself and how you evaluate the team, there probably need to be more tweaking than just adding a left-hander or whatever case may have been. You would have had to not saying you had to make an overhaul, but you definitely would have had to tweak it more than maybe some thought.
Fair, very fair. And we do not know who was available. Where we do know who is available, and they went out and made those deals this year. You know, so in fairness to John Mozeliak and ownership, you know, maybe the right kind of guy was not there. And as you said, more than one guy was necessary to get this team over the hump. But this year, there's no doubt. And yet, John will tell you, you know, that message was sent to the players. The players, through Tony, said, hey, they've done the job now to give us what we need to do. Now it's up to us as a collective group on the field to go out and do the job. But now he goes, yeah, you know, but I would like a couple more.
No, let's. Al, I'm greedy. I told you. You know, let's get whatever you need.
Well, Tony's right there with you.
It's popped up in foul territory. Nice play made by the third baseman Kuzminov.
And Dan, I don't want to shock you or deflate your ego a little bit, but I think John is going to listen to Tony a little more than you.
I'm shocked you came out and said something like that to me.
Hey, let's see if maybe Headley learned something. See, this time the left fielder is running hard to get near a play that wasn't his.
Well, I told you what I said the other day to a front office personnel person. I said, you know, John Smoltz is out there. You might want to take a look at it. And without even hesitating, they said, you want to pay him? I said, well, I like him. Of course,
Well, paying's not an issue because it's prorated on,
now it isn't. That's
on
right.
a minor league, you know, or not minor league, but the minimum salary prorated.
Well, here's the thing, though, with John Smoltz. He's 42, and his numbers this year against left-handers are terrible. So Do you feel that he's done enough? Has he shown you enough to get right-handers out and move them to the bullpen?
And not being disrespectful to Wellemeyer, but have you checked out his numbers against left-handers?
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, they're over 350.
The Cardinals, though, if you ask them, they say, well, we may need a little bullpen help. So if John Smoltz is out there, you'd be crazy, any team, not to at least bring it into, a discussion to say, can this guy help us? And you talk to people, you look at tape, you visit with him, and you do your due diligence. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Famer.
You're talking about a Hall of Famer. You're talking about a guy that's is a class act that is not, it's not like you have to investigate, and because you aren't going to find any dirt on him. I mean, both on and off the field, this guy is, is one of the best ever. And would he love to come to this environment, close out his career? No question.
1-2 pitch. Pujols out in front and pulls it foul.
But in reality, you've got to look and see, make the hard evaluation: is can he help me on the mound? Forget about,
is he better than anything you have out there right now?
Right.
And the way he's gone about his business this year.
And it has to be a little bit beyond better than what you have. Is he substantially better?
Right. I mean, the Cardinals bullpen has been pretty good this year.
Absolutely. And that is a byproduct of all the innings pitched by the starters.
You go back to 2004. Remember that season when you had Marquis and Suppan and Morris and all these guys? It seemed like they never missed a start. Every fifth day, those guys were out there and giving you 6 or 7 innings. So when someone came in, they were so fresh. It was a huge advantage in those games.
And when you have to, the bullpen is asked to pitch, more than 12 outs a night, you're asking for trouble. You're going to wear them out. But when it's, when it's under 9, and case here tonight, it's 6 innings or 6 outs. That's when everything clicks, because you got everybody's Achilles heel is their middle relief. Everybody's got a pretty good setup guy. Everybody's got a pretty good closer. The Cardinals with a situational lefties.
3-2 hit up the middle, base hit for Albert. Little chopper and went right back at the pitcher.
Albert on base the 3rd time, his first hit, pair of walks, and right back over the mound because of the motion. This lefty, momentum carries him to the 3rd base side, and he puts himself in a very poor position to field his position.
Brings him Matt Holliday.
I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm not so concerned about a guy fielding his position. I'm concerned about what kind of stuff he has going to the plate.
Holliday had a big base hit with the bases loaded that scored 2 midway through this game.
Now it is Friday. He only has 2 hits.
I would hope we don't see him come up another time.
Well, unless it's here in the 8th inning.
Good point. Here's the 0-1 pitch.
That'd be quite a run with 2 outs if he comes back up.
Matt was telling me he met Mark McGwire through Mike Gallego when Mike Gallego was in Colorado and as a coach, and introduced him to Big Matt. Base hit, right center, all the way to the wall. 1 run is in. Albert held up at 3rd, a double and an RBI for Matt Holliday. Big night for Matt. 9-0 Cardinals. Now, that's a line drive that was almost caught by the second baseman, but hit so hard, it's in the gap and goes all the way to the wall.
Well, that's what I was saying about the fact that, when you drew the infield in his last time up with the bases loaded, a guy that hits the ball so hard, you're just asking for an infielder to get hurt.
Goodness. 3 consecutive 3-hit games for Matt Holliday. He is just on fire right now.
And, he's 3 hits, 3 RBIs tonight on 4-hit Friday.
4-hit Friday. I like that. 4-hit Fridays for Matt Holliday. Now the Cardinals might want to come up with something with 4-hit Fridays.
Sounds like maybe I do a spot on that.
As Ludwig takes a ball in, 1 ball, 1 strike. Two outs and 2 on. Runners at second and third. Ludwig breaks his bat, grounds to third. Play is made. Mott coming in, and we played 8 here at Busch Stadium. All Cardinals, 9-0. Big night for the Cardinals. U.S. Cellular, Cardinals Live coming up. And Adam Wainwright will be part of the story. Also the Hungo Award. I forgot the Hungo is coming up, and we'll go inside the Cardinals clubhouse. Now, before we get to the Hungo, let me give you all the changes now. Jason Mott is pitching for the Cardinals. Joe Thurston is in left field. Mark DeRosa moves from third base to first. Khalil Green, after his base hit, he stays in. He's at third. And Lugo at second base. Thurston challenged. Almost came up with a great play. Outstanding effort out there from Joe Thurston. Almost came up with it. Can't fault him on that one. Tough play. Tough chance.
You know, he's played a lot of infield, but yet he's capable of playing the outfield, showing his versatility. And he went back on that ball. Did not shy away from the wall at all. And you can see he got up over the padding up on the chain link fence and trying to go back there. A tough play, and almost made a spectacular play. See how hard he has to run going back. The ball's going to slice back into the corner a little bit, and that was the difference of it ending up in glove or kind of in there. But that was going to be a tough play either way.
I'll tell you what, how tough is that when you're thinking about a guy not only coming in late into this game, so he hasn't played at all, but then to go play that position, which is left field. He's only done it a handful of times this year. He's normally been at third or at second. Boy, that is tough. That's not an easy thing to do, and he got a good jump on it. Had it timed perfectly. Everything was there. Almost made an incredible catch. 52nd appearance for Jason Mott.
You see that high ERA as he's really trying to rediscover himself, and to the point where, you know, he's trying to not only work on his slider, but he's trying to work on a cutter and a changeup.
Last pitch at 98 miles an hour. He's got the great fastball still.
I told him the other day, I said, you know, don't forget what got you here,
which is the fastball.
And we've seen at times when he throws 98, I said, learn how to spot it. Learn how to spot that pitch. You know, if it's, even if it's straight, you're only facing guys one time. If you can spot it and keep it out of their zones, you've got a tremendous weapon. There's a slider there, and that's an improving pitch.
Talked to Scott Cooper today, Al, the former Cardinal and 2-time All-Star with the Red Sox. He said the best advice he ever got from Ted Williams. He said, I just never realized it. Swing at strikes.
Exactly.
Swing at strikes. So if you don't get your pitch, don't swing. 2-2.
When I first got to the big leagues, and I had a couple, my first, I want to say at least four games were pretty good. And then I came into a game, it was after I made my first and only start, and I walked 2 guys in a row. They took me out. The next day I went to the pitching coach like, what do I got to do? And he just laid into me and said, that's what's wrong with all you young kids. You forget what got you here. You don't have to do anything. Just do what you were doing down there. That's why you got promoted.
And with Mott, you're saying,
well, I mean, it's one thing, and this is a game. You know, I mean, in one sense, okay, because of the score, you can kind of work on your future. But right now, he's got to sit there and convince them that they don't have to go out and get another right-handed reliever.
Good point. 3-2 now on Kevin Kuzmanov.
You know, when I read about all the things that he's experimenting on, the first thing I said was, well, it sounds like you need to go to AAA and work on those things. You'd only be going down for 2 weeks. because he would definitely be brought back when they expand the rosters. But you've got to show something. You've got to show a reason why they don't need to go out and acquire somebody.
Hit in the air out to right center field. Well hit out to center and gone. And a home run, a 2-run shot for Kuzmanov. That's his 15th of the season, and the Padres finally get on the board. 9-2 St. Louis.
You're seeing why Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa have been a manager and pitching coach for 3 decades, because everyone wanted to anoint Mott and Perez as automatic closers, and they were saying, hey, they're major league pitchers, but they're not a finished product. This pitch is down. It's 98 miles an hour, but you see, it's thigh high and it's in the middle of the plate. It's not in or out. That's the difference of getting an out and a ball being hit out of the ballpark. But they were saying that this is a work in progress, and it still is. Will be out to talk to him as he's falling behind, and a lot of times you've got to see the intestinal fortitude of a young pitcher as Brad Thompson's getting loose, and the only way you're going to see it is when he fails or when he struggles. Can he fight his way out of it? And you know Mott can. He's a young man that's a little bit confused because you're not used to having 98-mile-an-hour pitches, turn around on you.
And that pitch is a strike. 2-1. Two and 2 the count. Will Venable is the hitter for the Padres. Nobody out. The 2-2 pitch from Mott. And with this, the Cardinals now have had to get a right-hander up and start to throw in the bullpen.
That's Brad Thompson. He got up after the home run, but hitters, they will see that radar gun, but they have no fear. When you don't pitch on one, if you don't pitch in the middle of the plate, they love to do that. Go up there.
That's hammered into right center field. Diving catch. No, they're going to say he was safe, and a trap. And Colby can't believe it. And neither can Ryan Ludwig. Ryan Ludwig put his hands up in the air saying that was a catch.
Well, Colby is a rookie, and he's got to sell it a little better. And it looks like a catch.
That's a catch.
Yeah, it looks like a catch. You see right there, it's a catch. But he really didn't sell it. It was hit so hard. Hard to tell from that look, but it still looked like it's in the webbing and didn't look like it bounced or changed direction at all. I'll say it was a catch, but he didn't sell it to the umpire. Like come up and hey, that's a great play.
And this is Blanco with nobody out and a runner at first base. One thing about ninth innings this year with the Cardinals, how about Ryan Franklin and getting guys out and doing it in a hurry? He has done an exceptional job in that regard. Camera work nicely done by the truck. Up close in the catch by Molina. Our Budweiser player of the game. Good play by Yadier Molina. And our player of the game, Adam Wainwright. 7 innings, gave up 8 hits, but no runs, no walks. He strikes out 3, and he also hits a home run. He got the Cardinals on the board back in the 3rd inning. Adam Wainwright, our Budweiser player of the game. The Cardinals have turned 3 double plays, and they'd love to turn one more right here. But isn't that something, though? You think about when Franklin comes in, it's just boom, boom, boom. He gets those outs quickly.
Throwing strikes. Salazar, if this game gets extended, will pinch hit. And DeRosa now playing behind here.
And that pitch is a strike on the outside corner. This is not to take anything away from Jason Isringhausen, who was at times fantastic for the Cardinals as their closer. It just seemed to be more energy spent to get the 3 outs. And the same result is there. Franklin gets him too. He gets the saves. It just, there's a comfort level in watching him pitch this year.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the base runners like Izzy had, but bottom line, Izzy, the all-time Cardinal closer, you know, our saves leader. Franklin has done a very good job this year, better than a very good. I mean, he's been almost nearly perfect. He's only blown 2 save opportunities. He's amongst the league leaders, and as you said, with very few pitches.
Dennis Reyes is now throwing with Thompson in the bullpen. That pitch at 97. So the Cardinals 1 out away from win number 65 here tonight.
Salazar, Oscar Salazar.
The Cardinals would still stay 4.5 games in front of the Cubs. 9-2, and the first pitch taken low.
He's had 5 hits and 4 RBIs in his past 10 pinch hitting performances, 4 for 9. Hit a pinch hit home run, second of the season, a third of his career yesterday at Milwaukee.
Fouled off the mask of Molina.
Salazar was acquired from Baltimore July 19th in exchange for reliever Clay Meredith.
Fans on their feet, 42,000 plus. Another sold out crowd here tonight at Busch Stadium. Popped foul. So here we go. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Mott, trying to get that final out of the ball game. Just missed.
Philadelphia defeats Atlanta. And the Braves being at home. Giants lose, costly loss, 3-0 to the Mets.
In the air, right center. This should do it. Cardinals win it. Win number 65. And the Cardinals do it in convincing fashion here tonight. 9-2. Adam Wainwright, a 14-game winner. Contributions up and down this lineup. The Cardinals turned 3 double plays this evening. 9-2, our final post-game show coming up.
Cardinals beat the Padres 9-2. Rick Horton and I are at Lumiere Place to break it all down on this edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Rick, a Padres team that's pretty good, and they had a good young pitcher on the hill tonight.
Well, this game really wasn't in doubt because Adam Wainwright was so good early on. Cardinals scored plenty of runs early. They did have a pitcher with good stuff, but Wainwright was much better.
More from Rick later on. Plus, the Cardinals welcome the Padres to Busch Stadium. Would they continue their home dominance? Speaking of dominance, Adam Wainwright looking to continue his strong second half. We'll break down Waino's start, and we'll take you back to Busch Stadium for player reaction and Tony La Russa's post-game press conference. Plus, we'll also give out the Hungo. Happy birthday, Steve Martin. Ricky and I are 2 wild and crazy guys. We're bringing you U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, and it's next.